Live from the streets of Queens, it is Schmuel Buckman, and joining me tonight is the Pineapple.
Indeed.
Hi, Pineapple.
How's it going, pal?
Good. How's my sound?
A bit loud.
Loud. Very loud, huh?
I said a bit loud, but yeah.
How's that? Is that any better?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. I'm using a little loud clip mic tonight, and it is significantly louder than I expected. What's going on?
Not much, mate. Not much. Did a bit of chewing the shit earlier with Rochi. Hung around with Wendy for a little bit, and then just chilled out, and then looked at your message and was like, shit.
Cool.
Not
I got to hear some of you and Rochi. Busy day at work, so
yeah,
hard to
understandable.
be following hard to be following along with YouTube. So thank you for coming. My boy
No
Dave
worries.
couldn't make it, so here I am alone. And
R.I.P. Dave.
I almost wanted to send Ray a link, but I was like, you know, I don't want to bother
far
the
too
big
busy.
entertainer. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
he'd be way too busy.
Big entertainer guy. I'm sure there's a free show that he's doing someplace. So I don't have a lot tonight. I have I do have a special, which we're going to try to do. Little unboxing video.
Okay.
A package that arrived from the UK today.
Right. Yes. From Mr. Dabbler. Yes.
And Mr. Dabbler. I got Mr. Dabbler. I commissioned Mr. Dabbler to make a clay figure of Mrs. Buckman. So we'll unbox that. I asked him not to send me any pictures before he did.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
we're all gonna see it live. Yeah. And the box is a lot lighter than I expected, so I have no idea
Mm.
what we're gonna see here. So what's going on over in the UK?
Same old shit, really, mate. Nothing great. Nothing great. Uh, I honestly, I follow more politics in the US than I do over here. It's nice and boring and redundant at the moment. We've got don't really follow it.
So I woke up this morning to I was listening to a little news podcast and they're talking about Heathrow being closed because of a substation fire, I guess
Yes,
a couple
yes,
of
yes,
days
yes.
ago, and they're suspecting that it might be old Vlad Putin.
What responsible for it? Yeah, throwing us into
Yes.
anarchy. Yeah, if we can't go on our
It's just,
holidays, we will revolt. It's a good idea.
you guys are funny. Years ago, when I started in business, I had a lot of clients who were Irish, and
Mm.
it was explained to me back then that even if you're on the dole, you still go on vacation. So,
Well, yeah, yeah, kind of. But it is sad because a lot of people who are on the dole, they never get to leave the country. As much as it's a funny idea that we would go on holiday regardless. You can't really afford it. They can't really afford it. I don't think Rochi goes on holiday, as far as I'm aware, anyway.
I did enjoy your bit of Brian Harvey today,
Yeah,
and
yeah, tiny bit of Brian Harvey.
I did get to put it in the chat, but I don't know if it got seen or read that his
Mm.
apartment doesn't look bad. His flat, as you folks would call it.
Yeah, no, we did an episode probably a couple months back where he does a tour around his I don't think it's a flat because it's got 2 stories. So I think it's technically kind of like, technically a house. But it's definitely definitely rented. Yeah, it looks okay. He's done it up okay. Did you see I know you don't
It's
watch
bigger
Joey
than
Sports, but
Gino's,
yeah.
that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It had a few rooms. It had a
I'm
few.
sorry, I interrupted you. You asked me, did I
No,
see?
yeah, and then I kind of realised you don't really watch Joey C nonsense anymore, do you? They had Lou the Monster did a little tour of his flat, which was quite nice. It wasn't like Joey's mess of a mess of apartment. It was actually quite neat and tidy, and had a few little nice pieces of furniture. So, yeah.
I'm going to assume that if you're inviting people in, even
Mm,
by video, it's clean,
mm,
unlike
mm.
Stuttering John.
Well, some people have no
So
shame, Schmuel. Some people don't realize that they should be ashamed, that it's dirty or that it's messy. They don't have that in them, so which I find
I didn't
amazing.
think
But
I didn't think John's was that bad. Um,
mm,
it was more that he knew he was going to have somebody come over and he couldn't clean up,
mm,
you know?
yeah,
Um,
couldn't put 5 minutes into it. Yeah,
we made a lot of,
pick some
or I
stuff
shouldn't
up.
say we, yeah, the universe made a lot of uh, indications about this being cat shit or that, that stuff we
Mm,
don't really know, but leaving the clothes laying around and
mm,
the disgusting white shit on the bed. And he was hoping to bag mommy, right? So I just couldn't imagine. I couldn't, I'd be embarrassed. And
yeah,
I'm
but that's
embarrassed as it is.
but that's why you wouldn't have a place with clothes all over the floor and potential cat shit on there, right? Like,
No,
even if you were that kind of person to be that messy, you'd still have enough shame to tidy up after yourself if you had people around.
I was cleaning up. My wife is funny because if she'll like my neighbor will come over and she's like, I can't let her in. The house is a mess. And I'm like, nah, it's fine. It's really fine.
Yeah.
But
Well,
she does
I, I had the cleaner turn up last Monday, and I forgot that she was due to. Well, me and my wife both forgot that she was due to turn up that Monday. She comes every other Monday, and for some reason, it just skipped my mind. And I had like some clothes, like on the floor, like on the bed, where I'd kind of like got like kicked them off the night before and not put them in the laundry basket, and it just the house wasn't like tidy. And I, honest to God, I felt mortified because I was working in the daytime, and she comes at the beginning of my lunch break, and I was like, "Who the fuck's ringing my doorbell this time?" So I went downstairs, and she's there with like all her stuff, and I'm like, "Fuck!" So I couldn't be like, "You stay out here for a minute. I'm just gonna go do something fine." So I had to let her in, and I was just like, "I'm really sorry." I just said, "I'm sorry. I forgot you were coming. We would have, tidied up a bit before you got here." But oh well.
I'm sure they see, they probably see a lot. Stuttering John's situation is probably not
Mm.
unusual for them. So
Yeah, but
I'm
yeah,
sure.
but they're a cleaner. They're a cleaner, not a tidier, right? I don't pay them to come and fucking pick up my clothes that I threw off the, you know. They
When I met my wife, she was mortified because I not only paid my cleaner to clean, I paid my cleaner to put my clothes away. So
okay.
I used to take them. They call it fluff and fold here. I don't know what you would call it anyplace else, but
Mm,
you take them to the laundry, they wash it, they fold it all for you. I
mm,
would bring it back in the bag, and she would put everything
mm,
away for me. She would rotate my clothes because
mm,
left to my own devices, I'll wear the same thing. You
yeah.
know, dirty, I'll just grab the
Mm,
same thing. Oh, laundry, wash that, come back, fold that, and then just start
mm,
wearing it all over again. And
yeah.
I have way, way, way too many clothes to. I
I,
know this is exciting stuff for the Dabbleverse.
crazy stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I don't know if it's like a generational thing. But people maybe my age and under, or maybe a bit younger than myself and under, but they just don't iron clothes anymore. And I fucking hate ironing, so like, I'm with them. I 100% agree. But it's very much a thing that I always remember. Like my parents always ironing stuff, every fucking like weekend having to do some ironing, and it just isn't done. People just go fuck it. I, I, I don't I don't think I iron anything unless I'm going to like a meeting, a funeral, or wedding, maybe a nice meal, maybe like on holiday, a vacation. But apart from that, I'm not ironing anything. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, look, one could argue there's so much plastic in clothes now that it doesn't
Yeah.
need ironing anymore.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
pretty much the only thing that gets ironed in my world are my dress shirts, and
Mm.
they get done at. I take those to the dry cleaner, and they wash
Yeah.
them and iron them, and
See.
then
Yeah.
suits. But everything else is,
Hmm. Yeah,
yeah,
that's exactly like what my dad would do with his work stuff. He'd take them every week, and they'd get done and get returned like the following week or what have you, or like at the end of the weekend, and he'd have them do all that for him as well. But
it's got
luckily,
crazy
working from
expensive.
home, yeah, lucky working from home, I don't really have to worry too much about that. So I just put my pineapple
I
filter on, and I go, oh, I look appropriate. Don't worry.
Now you don't use your pineapple filter at work, do you?
I could if I wanted. I can. I can do it on my Teams. I've realised it would let me do it. I've been tempted just to mess with people a few times, but not very professional. So I've avoided it so
So
far.
are you on camera most of the day or no?
No, no. Only for like meetings with like colleagues and whatever. Yeah. But
So I still work in primarily the real world. So
mm,
I'm either meeting people in person or I'm on
yeah.
the phone. So
Hmm.
I don't really do much of that. And I don't have a shit ton of meetings during the day. But my
Mm.
wife, I swear to God, she's
My
in
wife.
meetings from the time she starts work until she's done. And I'm like, how do you get any work done? You guys are in meetings all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I used to work in as a config kind of team for a database that our company were working on, and I don't normally work in that area, but for a year I went and did it, just just for to do something different, really. And my God, honestly, half the time was just spent in meetings, and it's just so redundant. Most of the time, you just want to go. It's got nothing to do with me. It's fine. Just summarize it at the end, and I don't need to be here. But the higher ups like to keep an eye on you and make sure you're in there. So
I it's
that's
interesting. I
me.
was watching or reading something the other day, and the guy was talking about the 80/20 rule, that 80% of your business comes from 20% of your clients, and
Oh right, okay,
80% of your
yeah.
annoyances come from 20% of your clients. And that's the way mine is. I,
Mm,
I could have 1,000 clients, and 900 of them I'll never hear from.
mm,
And, there's that other 100 that, like, every little thing they call you
yep,
before every
yep.
decision they're going to make.
Hmm.
And for me, there's a very little differentiation between work and home with these
Mm.
people. I mean, they will call me at 11 o'clock at night to ask me a question. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. So,
So,
but go ahead.
Shmuel, if you got offered the chance to go back in time and you could either kill baby Hitler or kill the person who come up with the phrase "the customer's always right," which one, hand to God, would you choose?
Yeah, I've never been really good at the customer's always right.
Yeah, no, fuck that shit. No, you're not. You're an idiot. Shut up.
I actually yelled at somebody today, and she's like, I can't believe you're yelling at me. And I I pay a lot of money to have an answering service, and
Hmm.
it's like a customer, what do they call it? Like a call center, I guess is probably the thing.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
they can take care of your problems. But what
Yeah.
happens is it rings on my desk phone first. And I say desk phone, but obviously with an app and everything. But it rings
Sure.
on my
Yeah.
desk
Yeah.
phone first, and then it goes to them.
Mm.
And there's some things they can't do, but they can do most things. And I will get people that will call them, and as soon as they realize it's the call center, they just hang up, and then they call
Right. Okay.
back,
And keep.
and
Okay.
and they hang up, and they'll
Mm.
call 5 or 6 times, and
Mm.
you're like, if you would have just left a message the first time, everything would have been great instead of you having to get through to us. But
Mm.
it is what it is. So I'm
That's.
interested in your opinion. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mhm. No, I was just going to say, funnily enough, you said earlier the 80/20 rule, and I have actually
Uh-huh.
heard that before. But I was watching this show on Netflix called Adolescence. It's a four
Yeah.
piece drama. It's really fucking good. But anyway, and they're essentially kind of talking about incels and Andrew Tate and that kind of like generate kind of like
The
affecting the young generation. Yeah,
the
and
the
apparently there's an
Dabbleverse, but those guys are thin. Go ahead. Sorry.
and young, yeah. Um, and, yeah, they're like in their 20s or 30s or whatever. Um, and essentially, there's apparently an 80/20 rule, which I'd never heard of in this context. And essentially, it's 80% of women fancy 20% of men or are attracted to 20% of the men. And I was kind of like, oh gosh, like, I'm so glad I don't have to worry about that kind of shit anymore. I was just like, that's so sad. You're just like, oh, it's fine. There's someone out there for you, you little idiots. But apparently, it's a big thing, a big issue, or a big kind of concern where they're like, oh, it's just only 20% of guys are going to get the women. It's like, yeah, for the first few years, for sure.
So there's it's a guy. He died last year. It's a black guy. His name was, I think his last name was Peterson, but I could be wrong. But
Mm,
he was sort of a kind of a Andrew Tate guy, but
yeah.
with intelligence, and he was just a smart. Anyways, he was a good guy, but he died one day of a heart attack. But the thing is, people
Mm,
used to call in, and it would be mostly women, and they would be like,
mm.
why can't I find a man? And he would start asking him questions, and he would be like, well, you've got 2 kids and no job. That would be why you've had
I
5
think I think
boyfriends
I've
in the
seen this
last
guy.
year.
Yeah, yeah.
and
Mm.
he would give them numbers like 1 through 10, and it had very little to do with their looking. I think I just
Mm.
disconnected my microphone.
I can
Um,
hear you. It's coming through somewhere else. Maybe it sounds slightly different, but it sounds fine.
it's on my. It's
You can.
I'm using my. I really
Mm.
wasn't prepared today. I'm in a miserable mood, and I wasn't going to podcast. And I said, "Well, if Eccles coming on, then I feel obligated to." So it went to
Yeah,
a backup.
I demanded Schmuel stream. I said, Schmuel, no, you can't let the people down. You show up.
I can't.
You pay your obligations.
I've gotten sort of disappointed or dismayed with the Dabbleverse in the last week or so, but we'll get back there.
Okay.
But in any event, what
Mhm.
this guy does, so this guy used to have people. He would have people call in
Mhm.
and and update my terms. I'm saying call in, but they would obviously be,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
video and that stuff.
Mhm.
And he would like judge people harshly, but the judgments were legitimate, you know. And you're like,
Mhm.
you'd have a guy calling, I'm a good guy. I've got like a job and stuff, and he's also like, yeah, but you're 5'7" and 325.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know,
And you're not the
who
only
want?
person with a job or who's a good guy. Like that's not everything. That's not it all. So yeah.
What do you call it? I was I'm kind of blown away in the Dabbleverse and like meeting all these
Mm.
guys, and it's
Yeah.
98% men. How so
Mhm.
very few of them seem interested in women. You know,
Right. Okay. Do you
that's
think that's do you think that's an age thing though? Because I don't know. Like, it depends what you mean by interested in women. So I'm happily married, been with for like 10 years. So in terms of interested in women, I'm interested in my wife, obviously, but apart from that, I don't look elsewhere. Like, not that I care. Like, I don't think that people like who, you know, have a little glance at someone. I don't think there's a major issue with that. But what do you mean by not interested in women? As in,
yeah.
they don't want to be in a relationship, or
So those aren't the people I'm talking about.
no? Okay,
You think of the Dabbleverse as skewing old, and I don't know how old you are. I'm not going to ask, but so these
mid
guys are
30s.
like a lot of these guys are in their mid 30s, and
Okay.
they're single, and they don't have a
Mm,
girlfriend, um, and they don't seem interested in getting one.
mm,
And that kind of blows me away because it's like it's great. It's great to hang out with guys and stuff, but
mm.
um, there's something to be said for having someone to come home to.
Yeah, for sure. But is that not one of those things where, you always have that friend who's kind of like, nah, yeah, it's not for me, being in a relationship. Nah, no, uh, single life's this great. I get to do whatever I want, blah. And then at some point, they end up like getting together with a long term partner, and they're just like, oh yeah, no, it's lovely, yeah, it's nice, yeah, okay, I'm glad I settled down. I think that maybe we just have a few people who are in between that stage at the moment, Shmuel.
It's
Maybe they've
possible. It's yeah. I don't know. It's possible, but I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, it's
I
quite
do laugh at a guy like
yeah.
Chad, right?
Mm,
Like you never hear Chad talk about women until Chad talks about women, right?
mm,
Like they're not part of his life. He doesn't talk about them. And then the next thing you know, oh no, I was getting a blowjob, or oh we went out, and you're like, come on, like who are you kidding? And it always has to be in opposition to something or somebody, right? It can't be
mm,
like, oh, I went to the movies on Friday with some chick, or I did this thing, whatever. It's always like if he's gonna own Rob Saul, I got a
mm.
blowjob last night, Rob, and you were sitting with your dog on your lap. I mean, come on.
I was just gonna say, Rob goes, well, that makes two of us then.
Yeah.
Fuck you. But I
And
wouldn't say that because that'd be mean. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe people are all sad and lonely in the Devilverse and can't get a girlfriend. But it does seem a little bit thankless. I definitely would not like to be a single male looking get into a relationship with someone, because not only is like times are tough, but also times are shit in terms of like the way you have to be. Apparently, you have to be like so progressive, and you have to be so, but you also have to be a gentleman who will still pay for everything. But also, they're a strong, independent woman, and their money's their money. But realistically, you're still going to have to pay for everything. So, if you've barely got any money as it is, and then you've got to spend all your extra money on this woman who won't really appreciate it anyway, I kind of get why it's not something people rush into. Like
Yeah,
maybe.
I think we make it seem harder than it really is, you know. And
Hmm.
I get,
Yeah,
I get to
maybe.
go because I see a lot of like happy young people out there, you know,
Hmm.
uh, just not the people that seem to be streaming all the time. In
But that's
defense of
probably why they're
Chad, this is
streaming.
from OG Mumbly Nick. Yes, in defense of Chad, I've been married for 20 years, so no one would believe me if I said I got a blowjob last night either. Boom, pick up a pen. Oh, Nick.
Yes.
Oh, Nick.
Yes,
But
Nick. Exactly.
we wouldn't expect you to do that. Um, so there's a lot of suspicion about who you really are. I don't know if you know this, right? I
Oh,
guess you do.
okay. Who am I? That's
So
the question, right?
I think Dabble Storian is the one that I hear the most.
So, with regards to that, it is quite funny that I joined the Dabbleverse after he had already left. So, yeah, I'll give him that in timing. But I think, apart from the fact that he didn't show his face, as far as I'm aware, right, he was just a stuttering John picture with a banana as a smile or something. Um, and I don't show my face. The difference would be there is audio of him and there's audio of me. And sure, we both sound English. Like, yeah, got me. I do sound English. But if you listen to like 15 seconds of him and then 15 seconds of me, you'd go, no, I don't think so. And then if you listen to like, you've listened to like a few hours of me, Schmuel, yeah? So you've heard me quite a bit. And then you heard half an hour of his show, you go, yeah, that's not him. So like, it's fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
like, okay, yeah. Yeah, exactly, Mr.
Mr.
Blue
Blue
Sky. Yeah, personality
MBS
wise,
says
completely different. Hmm.
Dabble Storian is so different, and I agree. I mean,
Hmm.
other than you two guys, it's like I'm from New York City, and other than
Hmm.
having a New York accent, there's nothing
Yeah.
about my voice that sounds familiar like anybody else's. So I think
Hmm.
these guys, they're looking and, well, they're both British. So, they must all go
Hmm.
to dinner with King Charles on a Friday.
Correct.
I don't know
Correct.
if this is the real Creep Off channel, but if it is, uh,
Hola.
welcome. I hope that's my friend Vinny Paulino. Vinny, who inspired me. And he
Gay.
definitely inspired me. I
Hmm.
went to, speaking of big fat guys, I went in August to DabbleCon 2,
Brutal.
and
Yes.
I realized not only was I old, but I was also very
Hmm.
fat, and
Yes. Two for
I
two.
gained
Hmm.
a shit ton of weight. So I've been working. I can't do anything about the old, but I've been
No.
working on the fat, and
Mm.
knocked off about 50 pounds, which is
Wow.
not
You
an
lose a leg
easy.
to
Let me tell you,
diabetes, or
not an easy. No, so I never had anybody make a comment to me about diabetes at
mm.
all. And then so my doctor retired. This is one of the things that happens when you get old. My
Mm.
doctor retired. I got a new doctor, and
Hmm.
great. I love her. Great woman. And anyway, she makes me get the A1C test, which is like that, test to see if you have diabetes or whatever. And
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't even know they had done it before. And she talked about me. And
Mm.
she's like, oh, it's like five something. Whatever it was fine. And she's like, oh, yeah. And I was looking back, and you were pre diabetic 2 years ago. And I had
Oh,
no
really?
idea. Yeah.
Mm.
I was thinking, like, oh, I could just be fat. And, but
See.
Mr. Blue Sky, a new doctor, and is she hot? The first answer is no. The latter is yes.
Mm. But yeah, every so often, every few years, I do like my granddad and my uncle both have had, well, granddad's dead, but diabetes. So every so often, I'm like, just to double check, I'm like, can I do a test? They're like, yeah, yeah. And they're like, you still don't have it. I'm like, okay, cool. And I don't really understand if it's something that I think with my uncle, it just happened. Like at some point, they were like, oh shit, by the way, you got diabetes. And he's like, oh, fuck. So,
Yeah, the in my family we all die of heart attacks. That's our
oh,
thing.
lovely. Hmm.
And cancer, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Um,
Yay.
so so I don't know if you've been following me at all on Twitter, but I don't. Did you see that
Mm.
I came onto Jesse PS's radar this week?
Yeah, I did see. I've not watched it, but I saw a few people mentioning that. That's why I put you in my little thumbnail. I was going to talk about it, but to be honest, I completely forgot. Was it a long segment or just like a casual, like little comment? Either way, it's pretty cool. But
It was definitely geared towards me and then the
okay.
Dabbleverse in general. Um,
Hmm.
so I don't really know him that much,
No,
except to see him occasionally. Uh,
sure.
Not a fan, and not that I'm
Hmm.
not a fan. I just it's not interesting
Don't
to
follow
me.
it specifically.
And
Okay.
right, and so
Mm.
he had put something up on Twitter, and I was like, "Is that a wig?" And apparently that triggered him, and my so I just said, "Is that a wig?" And his thing was that was bald cope, and I was like,
Mm.
"So it's definitely a wig then." And he decided to uh, kind of try to rip me a new one
Hmm.
on claiming that I was one of the members of Lemon Party, which
Right.
is like
Okay.
a 30-year-old. Do you know what Lemon Party is?
No, no. I feel out of touch here.
Type
Sorry.
lemon. Just go ahead. Type Lemon Party into your, and everybody else. Go ahead and type
Oh
Lemon
God.
Party into your
Here we go.
Google right now. It's only a picture.
Canadian political party.
No, no, no. It should be
Oh,
lemonparty.org is actually the website. Believe me, it's not a
I'm making a
Canadian
go.
political party. Well, it could be Canadian, knowing now.
Why don't you just tell me what it is instead of making me find it
I'm
all
shocked because it usually just
inappropriate?
pops right up. It's three old guys in
Right. Okay.
date.
With a
It's a
massive
threesome
lemon.
with three
Right.
old
Okay.
guys, and
Oh, lovely.
I was laughing because he called out his fans to come after me
Mm.
and put
Ooh.
something in my chat. Uh, and it was funny because I've had that happen to me once before with Gino
Cool.
Bisconti. So Gino unleashed his hordes on me, and not a single
Mm.
person responded. Jesse
Okay.
got 31 people on my last YouTube
Nice.
stream to ask
Cool.
whether I was one of the founding members of Lemon Party.
Very good.
And I do laugh because guys in the Dabbleverse are like, you should capitalize on this. You should do something with
Mm.
it. And maybe it's because I am old. I don't have the
Mm.
energy. I don't have the
No.
interest. I tried watching his show, but
Mm.
it's way too many bells and whistles and the fancy
Sure.
studio. Um,
Mm.
but Mint was telling me that he brought a homeless guy. Do you know who Dante Nero is?
No.
So I'm just going to tell you. So O and A, Dante Nero is a comedian in New York, and
Right.
Patrice O'Neill and Dante used to host a show on XM occasionally on Saturday nights called Black Phillip. And
Right. I've heard of. Yeah, I've heard of Black Phillip. Okay. I should have maybe recognized that name then.
so
Yeah.
in one of Gavin's compound shows, uh, Jesse brought in a guy who was actually a homeless guy but had convinced Gavin that it was Dante Nero that was coming
Right. Okay.
in. And the guy showed up. So uh, ME143. Jesse is the worst. Uh,
Clip it,
I
clip it, and send it
yeah,
to
I
him.
don't send it to him. I don't
Schmuel Buckman bad
I
mouthing.
yeah, I bad mouth him. I don't care. I don't have a what do you call it? I'm not a Red Bar fan either because it's like
Mm.
it's gimmicky, with all the sound drops and the bang. I hear there was a time when Red Bar was a thing, but I never watched it, so I have no idea. I don't know if I caught it late, if I'm catching it later on. Um,
Mm.
but Jesse gives me the same thing, and I'm not a huge fan of the radio voice. So Mint is Mint Diggity. It was when Red Bar hosted for a week, and I guess that was a compound.
Mm.
I, yeah,
Okay,
I,
fair
I've never
enough.
been a I've never been a much of a Gavin fan,
Mm.
so I didn't really watch that. And beyond Kumi, I used to watch In Hot Water with Berg and Gino.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
I liked said three shows I liked. I liked the In Hot Water show. I liked New York City Crime Report with Pat Dixon, and of course I liked Cumia. But I didn't really get to
Mm.
watch any of them with any regularity, except In Hot Water, just because it was at a time when I could watch at work. But once
Sure.
Berg left, it wasn't the same, and we got to see Gino in the last week, sort of having coping fits with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Gino's the
he
worst. He's the
he's
absolute
he's
worst.
he's ready to get out. You guys did a show on Monday with Ozzy that was fantastic. Um, on Sunday, I should say, his
Mm.
Monday
Mm.
with
Mm.
the
Nearly.
Aussie, and you went over the Geno clip. And one of the things is when you're on Rumble, man, nobody, it's like nobody sees it anymore.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
It's not great. Not great.
yeah, and the just the platform itself stinks. And
Mm. What a
I
bad
think
year for Gino as well, though. Eh? Like on the year where he's got married, he's lost his cushy job. He can't even support himself by YouTube, so he's just got to force that Patreon and force that Rumble to do whatever it can. Yeah,
and
can't be easy.
he's still what's the word I'm looking? And he still thinks he's right.
Mm.
Like he starts. I thought, oh, maybe we're gonna get some self awareness from him the other day, and he he wound up going back to Pat Dixon and Pat hitting him, and how
Mm.
all of his problems are Pat's fault, and I was kind of blown away. The Creep Off channel. I just got this, Vinny. The Creep Off channel. Tell me about it. We're talking about Rumble. So these guys were doing subreddit surfing, which was a
Hmm.
great
Yeah.
show. And I guess I don't know if they got demonetized or completely kicked off of YouTube, but they are Cardiff and Vinny have been
Hmm.
doing occasional subreddit surfings on Rumble, and Cardiff is super talented. He's been doing these. I think they're Thursday nights. He's been doing the idiot autopsies,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And Chad.
he
And Chad
reviews
League.
Chad, and
Mm.
they're fantastic, and it's the greatest thing that nobody sees. Oh, that's right. The creep off demonetized constantly, and Cardiff got kicked off. Yeah, so this was them getting demonetized was one of my first sort of understandings of just how fickle YouTube can be. Because it was like all these other shows constantly play other people's stuff, and these guys got booted for reusing content,
Mm.
but they weren't
Yes,
reusing.
it's
It was so strange.
yeah. The rules are very hard to interpret, really. You know what you can get away with. You can have a stream where someone can porn bomb you, and as long as you delete your streaming time, you're fine. Whereas if you don't delete it and you showed someone's backside apparently from a fucking movie, you can lose your channel permanently. Not a strike, not a warning, but lose it outright. Crazy.
Yeah, some
Doesn't seem to make
so,
sense.
some of it you can understand, right? Like with Gino, I could understand because there was essentially a set of rules, and he chose to just completely ignore them, and
Mm.
they weren't really asking for a lot. Just kind of limit your language a little bit and not show man ass and ball sack, and we'll be
Mm.
happy. And he couldn't even do that. But with these guys, it was just crazy. And the demonetization thing blows me away because that's you. You can't build a. How do you build a business and then have it taken away for something that you can't? You don't know. You don't know what rule you violated. You almost don't even know what to do to keep yourself from getting. So it drives down to the least common denominator. So what they want is just the easiest, softest YouTube videos up there. Don't do anything too thoughtful or intense or any of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
True.
you've got a guy like Patrick who goes on, Uh, man, I keep thinking that these guys must be striking them, but I don't know. I don't know.
But that is a bit worrying, isn't it? Really, when you think about it, the striking culture that we're in at the moment. Like, because if you have technically done something wrong that hasn't been caught by the algorithm, and someone just goes and reports you for it because they don't like you, uh, and you end up losing your channel. But, oh well, that's why
But
I guess you can't get too invested in YouTube, right?
I know, but for it's not going to happen to me. But think about a Carl or a Shuley or
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
like that. Those guys rely on it.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
And
Yeah.
what's funny about YouTube is when I started this and I really just knew it only to watch, and I'm like, oh well, how do you start a YouTube
True.
channel? How do you do these things? When you go
Yeah.
to YouTube tutorials and people who tell you how to do YouTube, it's all they tell you about is gimmicks. Gimmicks, gimmicks, gimmicks. This is what you have to do to
Mm.
make this amount of money. Nobody talks about content. And I'm just
Yeah.
like content content's what it's all about, right? Like if you don't have content, how are you going to make it? Unless you've got a giant set of boobs,
Mm.
then
Yeah. Like Cardiff. Yeah.
that
Exactly. Um,
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the problem, though, isn't it? It works. It clearly works. You can see these channels where they will set up a channel and they just go, "I'm just gonna copy the thumbnails from the top like 10 or top 100 most popular videos of the week. I'm gonna use AI to kind of create a kind of a similar thing based on what the top 10 videos did, and then I'll put it out there, and it gets them like first week they get like 1,000 followers, and you're like, oh brilliant, sitting here with 633, after like 9 months, 10 months of trying to be somewhat entertaining or useful as a pineapple. But
So, in
oh well.
order to the average person with
Mm.
they break down creators. There's makers. Makers are
Mm.
people who actually make a product and sell it. Uh,
Mm.
and creators, there's a second category which I can't remember what it is, but the creator category, which runs the gamut from everything from comedy to people that show off products or uh,
Mm.
sort of educational. It takes about 18 months to break even on YouTube. That was their latest study.
Mm.
So, and
Yeah,
you need
I couldn't
about
imagine someone giving up their job to do this full time. Like you'd have to be Tukey level in terms of like talent at least, or like Tukey Cardiff. I guess you could maybe go. I've got some money beside my partner. Is like, yeah, go for it. I believe in you. You can always just get your job back afterwards if it doesn't work out. But could you imagine someone trying to do this full time, giving up your job to do this? You'd have to be insane.
no, I can't. But I'll tell you what I have
Mm.
seen on, and the only thing I have to do with Facebook is Facebook Marketplace. My wife
Right.
follows it for me. I
Sure.
can't tell you how many people have bought expensive podcast equipment and never did
Hmm.
anything with it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. I
I,
did think
I,
about that when I was trying to get a bit of equipment when I started off, because I've got like decent computer anyway, like not too bad, you know. I was kind of like, oh, I wonder if I could get some of the stuff, you know, from like marketplace from people who tried it and then gave up like 3 months later. I didn't find anything, but it's a good idea.
that's how. Not that I have it with me because I left it in the car,
Mm,
but I bought a Shure MV7 Plus mic, which is I think about 299, all the
mm,
full package, and I got
sure.
it for 150 from a guy who bought it and never used it.
Yeah.
And and I've gone to this guy. I'd seen his stuff on Marketplace. I went over there once before. He's got to have $10,000 worth of shit, and he's
Really.
got this beautiful room set up. Yeah, but he seems
Mm,
to buy stuff, not use it, and then he buys more stuff. But I've never
mm,
seen a stream from him. I don't know
yeah.
who like
Just
I
just likes the idea of it maybe, and he's more money than sense. Yeah.
it's like it's pristine, absolutely pristine. And I was killing it with you know, speaking of this guy, Dave
Hello.
Sarah,
Where are you,
who
Dave?
not here, Dave, who no, Dave in the beginning when I was like, oh, I don't know what mic to get or whatever. Dave
Mm,
had me get a $45 F-Fine mic, which worked great, and
mm.
other people were suggesting that I spend way more money than that. So um, Dave helped me get it on the cheap, and I'm actually going. Not that he will respond, but I'm actually going to send Dave a link because I know once he gets in here, you two will yell at each other, and then he'll get off. But I realize I was
That's
going to
not
send him a
true.
link.
Dave,
No,
Dave's my best friend.
you guys get along very well. He seems to
My
have. I
buddy.
thought he was going to do more on MLC, but MLC hasn't seemed to have any guests lately.
Mm, cutting costs, I think. You know, it is it. Yeah, it's tax year everywhere, right? Yeah, it's like throughout the world, same place at the same time, or it's
I put up
end of the tax year for us right now.
for us too, but
Mm,
for
yeah,
most
okay.
people here, they get a refund. So I don't know how it works over where you are, but
It doesn't affect me really.
most of it, uh, it affects me only in I have to do the accounting. I send off my stuff to the accountant, and then it comes back, and I've got a million questions, and like, what was this
Mm,
for? What was that? And you have to recategorize this, and
mm,
the IRS has gotten more and more. We really want you to categorize stuff more than we used to. I used to be able to like a lot of stuff was office supplies, and now
yeah,
you really got to break that down, and whatever. But Schmuel Buckman is actually a corporation now in the great
mm,
state, so I'm happy about that. I had
good,
I
good.
didn't want to mix. Yeah, I was whatever. It doesn't really matter, but I'm waiting for the windfall, and I want to make sure that I
Mm,
have the right account to put it into, and so
for sure.
that that was
Good stuff.
that was
Good
the
stuff.
big thing. All right, so
Hmm.
you vamp for a second. I'm going to switch my headset, and then
Mm.
uh, we're gonna we're gonna open the box.
Okay, no problem. So, black people, this is my problem with them. There you go. I don't know what the fuck you want me to. Hello, everyone. Make sure you watch Pint Double Pint every Sunday at 2 o'clock Eastern. Apart from this Sunday and the last Sunday and the Sunday before, because if your fucking clock's changing for 3 weeks before ours for some reason. Oh god, let me actually scroll. Where Dave's not home. What a lie. Dave, I saw you at home a minute ago. Literally a minute ago. God damn it. I got passed on to see some Tom Myers show by Mint Diggity, who's also in the chat. Hello. Oh god. Come on, Dave. Jump on stream so I can go to sleep. No, OG mumbling Nick. Remington Schmuel is not going to work. Why are you so obsessed with trying to make puns out of Schmuel's name?
He really wants
that's
me
right.
to change
It
that
is
name,
right.
huh?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I didn't mind
think
it,
'cause
man. Go on.
Because he knows you did it. Hold on, I'm not going to be able to hear for a second.
Yeah, I played a few of my favourite clips in my stream today, man. He's a funny old chap. Shut up, Vampire Hunter. Someone block Vampire Hunter. He's a troll. He's trolling me in the chat. Does everyone like my Officer Doofy picture? Make sure to super tip Schmuel Buckman at supertip.gg/Eckle. All proceeds will go towards a pineapple. Oh, he's back. Shit.
So
Hey,
yesterday, or Sunday, I was talking to Dave, and I said, I was thinking like, oh, he's gonna think I'm insulting the pineapple. I watched you and Rochi all afternoon, or listened to you all afternoon, and then you were on BYB, and I'm like, I can't listen to these guys anymore.
Too much, yeah, too much. Oh, tell me about it. Imagine how I feel just even now. I'm like, oh, shut up. Fucking hell.
Wow. No, you're a good guy. So let's see if we can do this. I might. So this, ladies and germs, is a package. I'm making sure I did block out the name. I did everything I could, and we're gonna open this up. So Mrs. Buckman's birthday is April 4th, and
I've not got her anything.
I never know what to get her, and every year it's the same thing, and she's cheap. I don't know how else to put it. So she bought a new car this weekend, so that was a big improvement. Yeah, so I was very happy for her, and boy, we could talk about her versus Felicia going out and buying cars, but yeah, and I mentioned this before. The car dealers do not want her coming back. I'll tell you that.
For sure.
And it's so strange. Like it's 2025 and you still have to go through such shit. All right, so this is the package. I'm gonna lower this down so maybe we can see it more.
Right by your crotch.
Can you see it? No, I mean it's on my desk, but the lighting is fucked up. So we'll do this, guys. I am going to let you
just turn the green screen off for a second.
That's what I'm doing. Thanks, Dad.
No problem, great granddad.
All right. My desk is a mess. I apologize. I hope I don't have any personally identifiable information here.
That depends how good their eyes are.
No, they'll look at stuff. I did this the other night. My virtual background just shit the bed for some reason. While and I have no idea why. Hopefully this mic is now charged up enough to come. And I just picked it up. And now where did I put it? As I was trying to clean off my desk. All right.
The mic?
So, no, I had a razor knife in my hot little hand. And it's right here. It's black and it was black. So this is from so I didn't have anything to buy. I didn't know what to get Mrs. Buckman. And I was talking to Clay and I said, "Oh, let me get Clay to." So here we are. We're going to take it out. Oh, it's in many parts. It comes with a little plastic stand. And like I said, I asked Clay to not send me any pictures. Okay. So I guess this is it. This little package.
Here we go, guys.
All right, we all ready? Is this going to be like
Mm-mm.
super annoying? Bubble wrap, bubble wrap, bubble wrap. Now, clay certainly wraps it up very well. And we'll find out if Clay is as talented as I've always thought he was. Can we see? Can we see?
But that microphone isn't good.
It's noisy, right? Well, I had it right next to the bubble wrap. And there it is. Look at that. Wow. He got our hair
Good work,
color
Clay.
in and everything. Go, Clay, go. So this is
That,
Cookie Buckman's
that's
birthday
so good.
present.
That looks exactly like her as well.
It does too. I don't know if
I
you've
don't know what
seen
she
the.
looks like. No,
I've seen.
I've never seen your
I
wife.
sent. I
I've seen,
sent pictures. Well, she was at Atlantic City, and I think she lost a hand in the process here. She did.
Mhm.
Little hand.
Oh no,
But
you can fix it. You can fix it.
I'm not worried about it.
Some
So
hot glue.
she was in Atlantic City, and so the world got to see her there. So normally I wouldn't bring her.
Mumbling Nick's not lying. I did ask Clay a while ago, a year back, not that one, next one. I did ask Clay if he would make something for my wife's birthday, funnily enough, and he was like, "Nah, no, I don't really do that, mate." I was like, "Okay, fair enough."
I
Guess I
think
didn't have the
I
Schmuel bucks behind me.
well was what's his name, was John still uh was John
I,
still online then?
I think it was before he started going on regularly with him. To be fair, when I
Oh,
spoke to him
because
back in the day.
I I had asked him, and I'd caught him, I think, at a good moment when
Mm,
he was like he was he wanted to do more artwork,
yeah,
and I asked him to do it. So that was the deal. And of course I paid for it. And
of course.
so that's the other thing. And I was like, I've learned with when it comes to things like money, I
Mm,
whipped him out a deposit right away to get commitment on him. But you saw the other thing that I had put a deposit on. I had somebody to
mhm.
do logo for me, and those didn't come out quite so well.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
Happens though, eh?
we're no, it's all right. And but I was in talking to other people down in Atlantic City, and they're like, no, you don't pay anybody until they're done. And my experience has been, when you don't pay artists, when you don't give them money, they don't feel any commitment, and nothing. It never gets done.
Mm.
So I didn't want that to happen, and I needed this for her birthday. So let's talk about me smoking while I yell at everybody else for doing it. I think is it Mark who's in here? Mark usually Mark Jacobs, maybe, I think, is usually in
Fuck
here and
knows.
gives me a hard time about smoking cigars. But there we go. All right. So let's switch a little bit and then we'll come back. What do you, what's your view on the Dabbleverse at the moment?
So everyone loves to say it's dying, and I kind of understand why they're saying that. Content is like the clips are getting less and less from our clippers in terms of what's interesting, what's relevant. But I think it's in a transitional period. I think we're moving out of our doxing and ISO stage, hopefully, and we'll move on to maybe a more creative stage with different people joining, different directions shows going in. That's my optimistic opinion. Realistically, yeah, we'll probably just keep getting worse and worse and just doing the same old shit. But yeah, it is significantly less interesting at the moment. I get that, but can't always be interesting. Can't always be the best, I guess.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, I mean, now that John's gone,
I'm glad he's gone though. Oh my god,
I was like,
like I don't want him to come back ever. I'm good with him gone.
I was, look, I'm glad that he's gone for his family. Um,
Mm,
there's nothing worse than having the parent be the local drunk, and when you're on
mm,
YouTube, they are. And I've told this story before, but I remember a 12 step group. One of my 12 steppers moved down to Cape Coral when everybody else moved down to Cape Coral a couple of years ago, and
mm.
started drinking again. And he was hanging out. He would hang out with John. They would be in the bar together and hang out. And it's just sad, you know? It's just sad. When Quad went on John's show, that's actually how I got in touch with Quad in the beginning. When Quad went on John's show, I was like, could you try to get him to like stop drinking maybe? Because it was it was embarrassing. But I guess he doesn't mind embarrassing himself. Although he did put up a
No,
picture with a woman today and a motorcycle. So,
yeah,
well,
probably just some woman who was on a motorcycle. But yeah, fuck that shit.
he did do the head touch. The notorious thing about John is when he takes a picture, he's always got to touch his head to your head.
Mm,
So he's got the head touch with the with the woman, and she looks fine. And John's, I don't know. I feel like sober, he's not probably a horrible guy, but
eh,
I don't know.
I don't think he's that nice a guy. Full stop. But honestly, in terms of Dabbleverse, I'd probably rather the Dabbleverse die than John come back and us kind of cling to it for another year or two.
Is
Um,
that for you or
I
for
don't.
him?
No, I don't give a fuck about him. Like I've gone through stages like that when I used to watch like TSN and that where you kind of go, I feel a bit bad for him, you know. Hopefully like if he gets like in rehab maybe, but I'm like, no, I think he's a piece of shit, full stop. I think he's also an alcoholic. I think he's also a bad, you know, I don't think it's just that one thing. People forget, you know, that some people are just assholes or not very nice people.
You
But
know,
yeah, I don't know.
when you listen back to the on the when they do the blunder years and you listen back to the stuff that he did on Stern, he was always a prick, you know? And
Yeah, yeah,
he
for sure.
he never the thing about him was he never he like he talks about ball busting, he never knew how to ball bust. Like
Mm,
ball busting is what you do to me, right? Or what I see you and Rochi do to each other. Um,
mhm.
it's not, it's not the who had that somebody put up the thing today that oh, Stevie Lou, he was like
Yes.
he hoped the unexpected guest at Dabble House was
Mm.
carbon
Yeah,
monoxide.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. I'm like I was blown away. And
I, th- I,
but
I think the general rule of thumb with ball busting is you can't really have like malicious like intentions behind it. Like it doesn't really work unless you're kind of being a bit passive aggressive and trying to play it off as ball busting, which is what some people do, to be fair. But yeah, like ball busting only really works if you kind of like the person or like you get on with them or you know. Yeah.
right. And and you can't take it personally, but John reminds me
Mm,
of the guy who's, he's about 60 now, and he
mm,
just never grew up, you know?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's probably at one time, you're 27 or whatever, it was probably funny that he was a slob. It was
Yeah.
probably funny the way he had his wife clean up, you know,
Mhm.
um, those things. Oh, it's just John. But, you're 60. It's like, dude, you got to
Mm.
change. You got to change. And he didn't. So, but yeah. So, Mint Diggity, John is funny though. Skull.
I don't know. With certain things, obviously, he had a lot of people watching him, like through TSN or what have you, or WATP, or on his actual show. And people would find that funny. I just think after a certain amount of time, with some people, you kind of you're like, okay, like that's run its course for me. Like, have you ever had that with maybe when you're younger, what have you, certain kind of comedian or certain kind of comedy that you're like, oh, this is so good, this is so funny, and then like you listen to it like a year later because you've not heard it, and you're like, yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
liked it then, but it's got zero impact on me now. It's actually not funny at all, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I've kind of just adapted a bit faster.
It's really hard, particularly with comedy and being
Mm,
62. Like a lot of these guys I grew up with, right? And I remember them from the beginning.
mm,
And they're
mm,
just like now I talk about like Bob Levy. He does the same act now that he did 30 years ago. And
mm,
it's just it's not as funny. And I think the dice thing has gotten really hilarious, where he'll play on the fact that he's not famous anymore. I don't know if you've
sure.
seen the videos of him in Central Park.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Where he's like going up and going, "Oh, you want a picture with me? You want a photo with me?" And they're
Oh,
like,
hello
"What?"
with me.
And he's like, oh,
And
you,
then
"You want a photo with me?" Yeah. And they're like, "What are you on about? Who are you?" Yeah.
and these guys move along, and I see a bunch of them. Like I said, I live near a comedy club. I see that, so I get to see a bunch of them. They get to come
Mm,
and work out. It's Uncle Vinny's down at the Jersey Shore. And Uncle
mm,
Vinny's is very cool because it's BYOB. They're not allowed to serve
mm.
alcohol because New Jersey has some weird alcohol rules. Um,
Okay.
and it works for me because I don't drink. So you get to come in, but you get to see, but a lot of guys perform there. Norton is performing there
Mm,
next week, I think. Um, so you get to see a lot of these guys and you get to see them over and over, and they're working out. A lot of times you notice they're working out new material at this stuff. And
mm.
you can really see the guys that are growing, and you can see the guys that have given up, you know? And I can't
Yeah.
remember the guy's name, but I think he does uh, Epi Epperman. I might have the wrong guy. But he used to do this like football character, our football. Um, and
Mm,
he did this football character, and it was very funny 100 years ago. And I guess it's still funny, but you're like, oh, you did the. It's like you say, it doesn't work anymore, you know.
yeah.
And
Yeah. People change, right? But
well, and the
yeah.
audience
So
changes.
yeah, for sure. So Mint Diggity in your chat seems like shows are struggling for content with him gone. Also funny to see that. I'm happy with that. Yeah, it's one of those things like I don't know if I'm normally a cynic with pretty much everything, but there's a little part of me that's kind of like I don't think the Doubleverse is done yet. Um, but it could be. But I genuinely think it's a chance for some of the shows that have kind of like their platform to kind of show what else they can do. Kind of pivot to move off and kind of do something else, or kind of bring other people in, or mix up their own format. And I know that's unlikely because no one likes change, but the only other choice is they know how much it's affecting them. They know how you're not going to be able to do Blunder Years forever, under the format of the Uncle Rico show. Auntie Karen might do okay, and at least you're kind of trying, I guess. But
What's the question, isn't it? Right? You hit
mm,
on
mm,
it's like the pet rock, right? Like this guy decides to put rocks in a box and sell them, and
mm,
people bought millions of them, but it was a fad and it didn't
mm,
last. And he never was able to come
mm,
up with anything else. Um,
mm,
and the Beanie Baby guy, I think he might have gone to jail for tax evasion, but he's still out there making shit. Um,
mm.
you don't know him as much. So I don't know. I guess yeah, is it going to make you does it reveal your creativity if you can survive this? Um,
Mm. Be-
and
because
go ahead.
I think yes, sure. Like you can use someone like John as your kind of like springboard. So like for example, with me and Rochi to a degree, like give it to Joey C in terms of we got a lot of views for us. I mean, because a lot of people like Joey C's a fucking retard. It's interesting to like watch it. It's interesting to like hear a bit of commentary on it. But we're already thinking with like Joey, kind of like, okay, so where else can we go? What else can we do? What else would we like to do? So as much as Joey at the moment is still in full swing of him being an absolute psychopath, I'm already thinking, right, well, I really like Brian Harvey, so I'm covering like every so often little bits of Brian Harvey. I'm looking around like for a specific thing where I'm like, okay, British locales or maybe British kind of personalities that you wouldn't see, that you wouldn't have any chance of seeing. How would you? That might still be interesting. And it's not easy, obviously. It's not like you can go, oh, here's a stuttering John. Oh, here's another stuttering John. Oh, here's just here's like a steel tone. It kind of might happen, it might not, but I'm surprised how little the other shows kind of try to adapt.
Yeah, I think so too. So the my normal process for preparing for these shows usually involves
Mm-hmm.
talking to Sarah and then
Mm-hmm.
watching a bunch of clips and stuff. So there haven't been a lot
Yeah.
of clips lately, and
Mm-hmm.
I I found myself being unable to sit through a bunch of stuff. I
Yeah.
I just I can't like to I cannot watch Steel Toe without a filter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's just so tiresome to me. And I really do
Yeah.
believe we're at the point with him that he knows exactly what he's doing. Like he's being a lying asshole just to just to generate a response,
Oh, for
you
sure.
know?
Mm.
And but I don't there's this thing of I used to say with John, hold on a second, I'm asking Crumb because I know you want to leave, so I'm gonna send Crumb a link. Crumb, what's your X? Um, I with I lost my train of thought, but with Stuttering John is it's like um after a while it just sort of becomes tedious. And the thing with Joey is I love seeing Joey lose his mind with
Mm.
stuff, but because you don't know it because you're young and you don't live in the US. Um, but I know who Joey is, you know, because I grew up with Joeys. There's 1,000 Joeys, and
Mm.
there's
Oh,
really nothing there.
Schmuel, don't get me wrong. A Joey C isn't exclusive to America. We have Joey C's as well. We have just as delusional, arrogant, piece of shit poor people who have nothing but lies and criminal records behind them as well. Joey C, the funny thing with him is he's not special whatsoever, but he's entertaining and he doesn't know why he's entertaining. And it must fucking tear his hair out when he's off stream and he's like, "What? Why did I do so well last week? I'm doing terrible this week," and he just can't work it out. He just can't work, and that's part of the fun, I guess, with Joey, is that
But
if
I
he
think
did
that
work it out, it might be a bit boring. But yeah.
but he has what do you call it? The thing with him is I don't think he's funny, but I do think that I'm messing up my screen here. I do think that the people who cover him are funny. Um, and those
Mm.
guys are that's what makes it interesting. Um, not him necessarily, but you guys. And Rochi, right?
Yeah,
Like the
but
stuff
like
that
you got
Rochi picks out.
you sure, but you got to give Joey some credit as well. Like when Rochi was just in the chat fucking with him, like not doing a show or anything, there were still moments that he would do that people would really enjoy. Now, fair, his views have drastically changed since the start of me and Rochi watching him, and it's not specifically because we're reviewing him, but I think there is a bit of a back and forth in terms of a lot of the viewers I see over there are the same viewers that I see in my chat. People like to kind of shit on him a little bit without getting banned. They like to kind of talk about some of the stupidity stuff that they're thinking whilst they're watching it, and actually have someone else say the same thing. But yeah, Crumb sent you a message just in case. So
I did.
you
I
didn't
got it.
spot that.
I
Nice
just
one.
got it because that's
Mm.
easy. You know, I went to school in the days when they still didn't teach us typing, and
Oh no.
um, I went to being this old. I went to a high school that was known for computers, and
Mm.
we had like Fortran and Pascal, and I just wasn't that interested in it. I would rather sit with my history book than do it, and that might have had to do with the weird professors and teachers that we had
Mm.
at the school. Because you know, everybody's a nerd now. Back then, those nerds, those were real nerds. They
Yeah, yeah,
they,
for sure.
they were weird people. I had one
So,
teacher in high school who could talk to you for hours about logic and explaining
mm,
to you how logic works, and it would be terrible.
yeah. Nick makes a good point. Something I hate to say. Not the first bit, obviously. You do still need something to work with, and he's absolutely right. So, like Joey will kind of say, all you guys do is like steal my content, and I'm like, first of all, Joey, you could make a very good argument that what we do with you is what your best friend Shuli does with Stuttering John. Obviously, not to the same level, not to the same success. But to be fair, you're not as interesting or as far-reaching as Stuttering John. So I guess it has a sliding scale. Um,
Well, John had
I think
success, right? So the fall
mm,
from success is just as interesting.
yes, for sure. Yeah, but Joey used to clean like people's jock straps, so that's pretty good as well, right?
Hey, that's pretty amazing. I heard
Mhm.
today, I knew about the bounce checks. I did not know about the MLB bounce checks or the
Right.
I
Okay.
wasn't aware of that.
Yeah,
But
Rochi needs to do a deep dive. Maybe when I go on holiday for a few weeks, vacation for a few weeks, I'll leave Rochi to do just a 24-hour stream where he just goes over all of the history of Joey C.
that's my look, that was my thing with Joey C was go the I was interested in him. I started working with him, and um he's not capable of helping. And
No, no,
that's what's
yeah,
so frustrating. But
I agree.
he really does think he's a star. And he is, but only in as much as you make him that. Like
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
if there were not trolls, there would be no Joey Say.
Yeah,
Because
for sure. He'd just be talking about his baseball stuff, wouldn't he? It'd just be talk or dressing up like Batman and and getting a few people laughing, and that would be it. Yeah,
right.
it is a sad thing because I'll be honest, I don't really like the whole troll thing. Like, I don't think it's that funny as much as people be like, "What you troll Joey?" I'm like, no, no, no. Like actual people properly troll Joey. I I fuck with him, you know. I'll be maybe a bit two faced with him. I'll wind him up a bit, and maybe that is trolling to some degree. But
I keep looking for another
in
word
the
for
grand
it.
scheme,
I
yeah,
keep
yeah,
looking
it's
for this sort of other word that's not trolling, but I haven't been able to find
mm.
one. And it's
Yeah, mate, and maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am. I do. But in reality, I don't know why I always find in my head I'm kind of like there's normally a bit more of a sinister kind of undertone with what I would class as trolling. Um, I don't really think it's like mean spirited, right? And I don't think I'm overly mean spirited with Joey. But again, I'm probably just talking shit.
no, I don't think you're mean spirited with him, and I don't think Aussie is mean spirited with Gino. It's
Mm,
like there's a difference. I don't know. Like to me, trolling is nasty and mean, right? Is what
mm.
did they do to Merch? Merch, they sent him 2 pallets of concrete to the front of his house.
Yeah, yep, yep.
I mean,
Mm,
I can laugh at it, but that's trolling. Um,
yeah.
but it's it's almost like you're helping these guys out in a way,
I, I, I,
right?
I genuinely am surprised with Joey though, because he's never ever reached out and kind of gone, this actually, like, this specific thing actually, like, gets to me. Can you, like, cut it out? Yeah, because I, I know he probably won't believe me, but if he ever at any point early on reached out and said, "Oh, you keep doing this duck thing about my wife and it's upsetting her. Can you, like, stop doing that?" You know what? There would be no quacks in the chat. There would be zero quacks in the chat at all. Um, because I'm not a dickhead. Like, there's loads of things to, like, take the piss out of, or to wind him up over, or to review. And if there was something that actually genuinely affected him, and I'm not evil, you know, like, I'd stop. But
Well, I mean, you might say that, but
mm.
you are a coward because of your
Yeah,
outfit, and you
I,
don't
I,
disclose who you are. And
I never understood that. He said it the other day. He said, "Oh yeah, like, he's that Echo is a coward. Like, he doesn't show his face or give his real name." And then he literally listed about 5 people who don't show their face or use their real name. And he's like, "Well, yeah, but that's for, like, different reasons." I'm like, "Okay, but they're still valid reasons, right? And you're okay with it." Like, there's this
yeah,
guy that was there before I came, Kai Bernaccio or some shit, who used to do the morning show with him, and he
right.
would never show his face either. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. There you go. So you literally have someone in your own group that doesn't do it for the same reason. So
Yeah,
end the
I
game.
well, yeah, and if especially if you have a job, right, and it's a good
Mm-hmm.
job, and these
Mm-hmm.
do you want to be known? And these fuckers, I had it on here. I said something about Gino once, and some guy was putting up my location and where I was, and that I lived in one of these towns, and he was going to come
Mm.
look for me, and I'm like, because I insulted Gino? I mean, it was just ridiculous, you know? But
Mm.
um the 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 doxing is real. So but mint diggity, I like to anti-troll.
Mm. I I saw someone in Joey's chat. I don't know if you ever go there, Mint, called Muddy, and he trolls the trolls essentially, and I find it quite funny. He just kind of, like, goes back with all the arguments that Joey should go back with, or kind of shitty little comments, and I quite enjoy it. He's quite entertaining.
Well, that
Have
yeah,
we
and
got a have we
that
got a crumb bum? Have we got a
that
crumb bum
totally
yet?
I sent him a link, but he hasn't responded yet.
God
Um
damn it!
and I felt bad for Crumbun. I was on Dixon's show the other night, and Crumb was
Mm.
supposed to come on, and then he couldn't get his mic working, and Dixon was like, "He's getting mad at me. He's getting mad at me." uh, but yeah, in any event, no, you if you want to jump off, we're cool. I can
I
handle.
just
I'm
wanted to
gonna.
say hi to Crumb. I wanted to say hi
Oh,
to
okay.
Crumb before I headed off. So that's what I am. To be fair.
I I did. I had actually sent OG Mumbly Nick a link earlier, but I just resent it to him because I think I might have sent it to the wrong place. Or I could do it just to
Mm.
miss. Do you see Mr. Kill just puts up? He just puts the link up in his chat.
Foolproof. What could go wrong?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah. So do you watch any of the other stuff in the Dabbleverse? Like, do you watch Brennan at all,
I
or
struggle with Brennan. Yeah, I really struggle. But to be fair, I think I struggle with a lot of people. Like, a lot of people, if they flicked on my channel, to be fair, would be like, "No, I can't be watching this. This is not for me." But yeah, KB, I can't watch. Ray, I really can't watch. Ed, I can't watch. I don't say that too loudly. Um, TSN now I can't watch, unfortunately. So yeah, it's bad. What do I watch? I watch Schmuel Buckman. I watch Jerry C. I watch Pretty Antisocial. Um, I would definitely watch Melton if I could commit to 4 to 5 hours a day, and I know I can't. And I know I wouldn't want to watch like an hour of it. You know, I'm not that kind of. I don't like kind of. I'll watch an hour of it and I'll just not get the rest of it. That's not how I work. So
But
yeah,
part of Melt
WATP clips I watch a lot of. Yeah,
but part
sorry.
of Melton is segments, right?
Mm.
So when he does a 4 or 5 hour show, they really are broken
Yeah.
up into segments, so you can watch parts of it. Um,
Hmm.
and I do enjoy a lot of his steel toe coverage, not all of it. Um, and speaking of which, and this is what I actually asked you to come on for. What do you think is
Mm.
going on with OJ, Obnoxious John?
I think he's just had a little bit too much of the Dabbleverse, right? I think he's had a little bit of a troll back on him and he's not enjoyed it, which is fair enough. Um, yeah, there's certain things where I guess people get to like the breaking point with, right? And they're kind of like, yeah, no, I don't like it anymore. And I think he's quite enjoyed being a liked character, getting, maybe it's not fair to say like carried, but he's been boosted by having Cardiff and like Tukey as like his two friends and who do stuff with it. Yep, it's a dumb name. Decline host. what? What are
Decline
you
host. Ethel is
declining?
a dumb
What are you
name.
declining?
Is it just
What
Luke and
stupid name? What stupid name? Decline. Why don't you be reject host? Yeah, it's just
that's
my
why
name
we don't
backwards.
I don't send him
That's all it
links
is.
for that reason. So this is the question that Mint Diggity asks.
Yeah,
OJ
I
can
think
give it,
Min
but he
might be
can't
right.
take it. And that's I mean, I think it's a valid question. Um,
Uh,
and but
yeah,
the thing with
you might be right.
Melton, you're never going to like it's going to be hard to counter Melton, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I did get his annoyance at that thing of, oh, I didn't sign on for this, and
Mm.
I wasn't going to do it because I'm like, that's part of being an adult. Is if you have that problem, you make a phone call or a text because people don't talk on the phone anymore, and you
Oh,
say, you know, this is what's bothering me, and then you talk about it. But
mm.
especially when you're selling an event, right? If it were just this stuff, it would be different. But and you got to know Patrick. Patrick's not going to be able to let it go. So you're just opening
Yeah.
and go ahead.
Also, it creates a little bit of like controversy or a little bit of drama, to kind of make people talk about it a little bit. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's all the work. I don't think so specifically. I'm not too sure if maybe they're leaning into it now. Like that's perfectly possible. When Vince was thinking that he was doxing OJ's name and his family's or some shit. He kind of leaned into it then, and as if it really affected him. And then he came back and he was like, "No, that's not even my name." I'm absolutely fine. So you never know. He might literally just be busy, and he's just using it as an excuse to kind of just fuck with people, and then fair play. But it does seem like he's kind of got a bit upset and a bit took it to heart. So we'll see, I
Yeah,
guess.
it doesn't feel like that. I will tell you that one of the things that I do know is he would go to shows with Ray, and Ray is, and you can all argue with me if you want. Ray's a good-looking guy. Ray goes up, he acts on stage, he's got all the confidence in the world. He may not be the greatest comedian, but he definitely gets the women coming up after him. And I'm sure that
Mm.
OJ has been picking up phone numbers as a result of Ray, and they're going out, but I don't know if they do anymore. Mint Diggity, OJ been annoying from the jump, wouldn't fly. Remember when you gave him a train schedule and I did that underrated super chat? Um, you know, I I I've done this in the past before, and with OJ, I understand his fear of flying. And actually, out in Ohio, and I think it's pretty close to Cleveland, there's a guy that will help you get over that fear. But he doesn't, OJ doesn't want to do anything about it. I feel like
Mm.
if you got a fear of flying, it's going to really affect your life because there's so much of the world to see. and you're not going to be able to see it.
Mhm.
And I do laugh about OJ because getting pissed on was the best thing that ever happened to him because that's how he got into the Dabbleverse, or became known in the Dabbleverse, and that's how he got onto this stuff. But apparently, he's produced music. I hear he's got a great studio.
Mm.
So who knows? And Decline host. Yeah, man, OJ sucks. He ran from Chad, obvious low IQ, pothead, scared of flying. I hate that dude in all filters. Sorry, Luke. Yeah, I don't have a problem with the filters. I don't know that he ran from Chad. Um, Chad's annoying, and Chad will dox you. So getting on Chad's bad side can have a lot of negative consequences. So I can see that. Like if you have a real life, getting involved with Chad may not be something that you want to do.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So this is definitely the last thing, and we'll get off. I heard you tell the story about the guy with the neck joke today that you guys did. The I think it was a newsreader. No, an ad guy. He
Oh
was
shit. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh fucking hell. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, just some cancel culture bullshit that I thought we were moved past and we didn't care about anymore. But essentially, there's just this guy that all you know him from is one advert, yeah. But they kind of do a million versions of that same advert because it's like a gimmick, and everyone for some reason likes that gimmick. And he was doing, I think you guys do like Dancing with the Stars or something, and that's our equivalent is like celebrity go dancing or some shit. I don't even know what it's fucking called. Strictly Come Dancing, sorry. And he made a comment to his female dance partner whilst they was on tour, saying, "Oh God," he's like, oh, "I hate my chin. It looks like it's got so many. It's so kind of like whatever. It looks like a vagina." And that's all he said. He made a self-deprecating joke about his own physical appearance, and she reported it, and he got removed from the tour. He's been removed from his radio job. He's been removed from the advert, which is essentially his entire career. Yeah, so apparently cancel culture is good and well.
why I thought that was so
Come on,
funny
Crumb.
was
Mm.
because I'm going to put him on in a sec. One of the reasons why I thought that was so funny was because that's my experience. My experience has been the older I get, my neck starts to look like a vagina. And Mrs. Buckman made a labia joke the other day, which was
Mm.
very funny and appropriate. So, yeah, I was like, it was very sensitive. So I'm going to add Crumb to the stage. Welcome, Crumb. How
Hello.
are you, my
Welcome,
friend?
Crumb.
Good. What's up, fellas?
How's it going?
Can you hear me all right?
Nothing is
Yeah,
going
we can
on,
hear
as
you.
you
I
can
can hear
tell.
you.
Sound great.
Sweet. Sweet. Thanks for the invite.
You're welcome. And you and I have been on some shows together, but I don't think we've ever really talked. Um, or
Yeah, we kind of
gotten.
talked that one time, the first time we hung out on Dave was doing
Oh,
a thing
Dave,
when
yeah.
you were in AC. We chatted.
Yeah. That was me sitting at a slot machine
Yeah.
broadcasting. Um, that was actually fun. I enjoyed that. Not that I could hear you guys too well, but I did enjoy it. And I got to go on Aussie's show that night as well. It was the night of the Super Bowl, actually, that night. And it
Go
was
Birds.
shortly after that when Rob threatened to physically assault me and beat the shit out of me. But
Oh
he
yeah,
did
that's right.
conveniently wait to leave the Borgata before he did that.
He's a tough guy. That guy. Speaking of tough guys.
Yeah, tough in the hard to put up with. But the night before, both he and Chad, I sort of had beefs with, I guess, just from the Dabbleverse, and and streaming. And so I went up and talked to both of them, and everything was great. And then the next day, they're back on streams. Rob is threatening me physically, and Chad denies knowing who I am, but I'm also a piece of shit at the same time, and et cetera, et cetera. So that kind of blew me away. Do you know Chris Neff?
No.
Chris used to do a show with Dave, and he knows Chad from way back and in LA.
Oh,
And
shit.
oh man, it's like no wonder why. I mean, I don't know why John moved to Florida, but I think Chad moved to Florida because it was as far away from California as you could possibly get.
Well, yeah. I mean, he got kicked out of California because he threatened, or no, he said Patton Oswalt killed his wife.
Right.
That's what did him in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
And
true. I mean, Patton Oswalt did kill his wife, so Chad was not wrong.
who's yeah, I
Right,
don't
Schmuel,
think that's true.
I'm gonna fall asleep. I've got to go. I'm fucking knackered.
Echo,
I don't know
go,
why I
buddy.
stayed up
Thank
this
you
late.
so much for
See you
coming
later,
on.
Crumb. See
I
you, Crumb.
Big
appreciate
fan,
it.
Echo.
Talk to you soon.
Take care. See you, Crumb. Take care,
Later,
pal.
man.
Bye.
Yeah, I didn't think I didn't think there was ever any suspicion of that. I think, but I do laugh. I can't think of who it is. It might be Mario Boscone, whose aunt or mother or whatever, constantly, whenever she sees Shatner, she's always like, he's the one that got away with it. He got away with it. And his wife was found dead at the
from
bottom
his
of the
wife
pool.
that found in the pool. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But no, I mean, there's a lot of them. I think that actually got away with it. I don't think Patton killed his wife. She just took a bunch of pills. She didn't know what she was doing. Took the wrong
is that what that
combination.
was?
Yeah, she died from multiple drug toxicity. I think she had
Oh.
Xanax and some painkillers, and she basically
I-
had that thing happen to her. Yeah.
I always thought she passed away from some like disease or something, but
Nah, man, drug overdose. Yeah.
yeah, drug overdoses are rough.
But
You know?
that's why Chad, when that came out, that's when Chad said, "Yeah, Patton did it." But he was on shows with like Hollywood comics. Like, how stupid are you, dude?
Well, pretty damn stupid. It wasn't. He certainly hasn't made the best choices in his career. That's for sure.
No,
You know.
no. I mean,
But-
I'm the same. I haven't made the best choices in my life. I get it, but his is just out there. We all know it, so you can't pretend when we can see it. It's like, if you're talking to your relatives and you're pretending like you had a great job, and they're like, "No, I remember, dude. You worked at fucking McDonald's. What are you talking about?"
Right. That's my thing with Stuttering John. Where he talks about his great stand-up career, and everybody who knows him knows that he didn't have one, and but he doubles down on it, and and that's the thing with Chad is like the doubling down on it. But he's reached, you reach a crossroads. These guys are in their 50s now, and at some point, the money's just not going to be there, and you can't do what you used to do.
Right.
And
Well, that's why they're here. That's why they're in the Dabbleverse now, streaming a bunch of them. I mean, KB, he doesn't have a 401k. He has no retirement plan. He doesn't know what he's going to do so this is what he's doing. That's my opinion, at least. I mean, Chad is the same. What does he have? He's got a bank account. He's got savings, sure. But when the shit hits a fan in another 10 years, what do you got?
that was always my issue with Ray from having met him about 4 or 5 years ago was like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Like, what's your retirement plan? Like, where are you going to go? What are you going to be? And it's like, I'm going to be, everybody in my family dies when I'm 50, by the time they're 58. So I'm not going to worry about it.
Oh, yeah. That's that always works out for you.
Yeah. And
I might die. That's a great
never-
investment plan.
yeah, death is, generally it's not a solution for most of these guys. Let's read what the Klein host has to say. Chad also made some jokes about extension when he died, or defended someone making a joke about him and got him death threats, hacked and doxxed. Another reason why he moved.
Oh yeah. That's right. He got some heat from that. Yeah, but then he moved to Florida, where fucking XXXTentacion died. So he didn't really. I don't think that was his main motivating factor. I think that he saw that his buddy Gladwell Ape had a nice apartment for him, pretty cheap, in Tampa, and he said, "I'll take it."
And he couldn't get any work
Opportunity
in
was there.
California, right?
I don't know. No, I don't know. I think he overstayed his welcome. That's from what I know of what he said and other people have said about his history in California. Is he basically overstayed his welcome and had to move on. But like Chad said today on his show, it's all it could be photoshopped. You can't trust a picture on the internet. But then he'll retweet a picture that is obviously photoshopped and be like, "You guys see this?"
I know. Do you know who? I don't know how into the Dabbleverse you are or whatever. You know Vince the lawyer.
No, yeah.
So
I'm as far in as you are. Maybe a little
okay.
bit more, but
Oh,
maybe
okay.
not. Like probably around the same level. I'm thinking you are, Schmuel. You're pretty plugged into it. Yeah.
See, the thing with Vince is some of the stuff that Vince does can be very funny, but he'll take videos and pictures that are obviously photoshopped, or videos that are obviously edited, and try to make them into something that they're not. And that loses me.
Yeah, but he gets some people with it. So like, I know what you're saying, because you can see through it, and it's pretty easy to see through a lot of these, fucking awful things. But there are people that don't see through it and believe it.
Yeah. And Vince lost
Sadly.
me early on with the videoing Artie when Artie was working in the gas station.
Oh yeah, that was him.
And
He did that.
yeah, he was the one that did it.
Damn.
And that's like, man, this guy's gonna die. It wasn't like Artie was one of these guys that went to rehab and then could come out of rehab and start drinking and drugging again and then go back in 4 or 5 times. This was his fourth or fifth time, and
Yeah.
he
With
was
a
coming to
collapsed
the end.
nasal passage, the dude was fucked.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And so mint diggity, yeah. People like me see that and know boomers are falling for it. I'm so LOLing it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that the boomers are the thing that we joke on and joke about and all of that, but we're not nearly as stupid as you think we are.
I mean, but some of them are. I mean, KB is one of them. He's dumb. He falls for all of that shit, dude, and it's hilarious.
See, but I don't know how much this is my issue with KB, which is my issue with a lot of these guys, is I don't know how much of it they're falling for and how much of it they're knowingly participating in something they know that isn't true.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a combination of both, but I think for the most part, he's easy to dupe.
Well, he's easy to dupe if he wants to be duped.
If it fits his narrative, yeah.
If it fits the narrative, then he's going to do it. And one of the funniest things I saw him do was when Cardiff was on his show and was pointing out the things that Chad had done. And Kevin just was like, no, just making excuses for, it's not that big of a deal, And this was the guy that said that, he was going to harm KB's kids, and his wife and all of that stuff. So,
yeah. That is crazy. Chad gets a pass from Kevin, and he said some awful things.
Yeah, but I feel like Kevin might have reached the point where he needs Chad more than Chad needs him, or they both need each other equally as much.
All right, Aussie guy. I'll get some
the Aussie
hot tracks
guy.
for you.
Nice to hear Crumb introduce some smooth jazz. Yeah,
Coming at you live tonight on Schmuel.
You definitely have the smooth jazz voice, and
I have done a voiceover here or there
have you?
somewhere. No, my wife does like video editing for a living. So yeah, I've done some voiceovers for her. I think they sound like shit.
Yeah. The Klein host. What people don't realize, Chad has been the greatest guest booker in MLC history. Um, I mean, he's brought in some people, but it's not a huge amount.
I think he should have more guests on his show, honestly. Like him doing solo shows, I think he's trying to prove something. But solo shows are hard. I don't care who you are. That shit's hard to do. Some of them can do it, obviously. But Chad uses a lot of crutches, with the fucking drops and the video shit. So it takes away from him. If he has guests on that he can interview, it's better. But
Has Chad had any guests that he's interviewed?
he had Grillo on the other like 2 days ago.
I
But
didn't
no,
hear.
majority no. Usually no. He doesn't have guests on. I don't know if it's an ego thing. He doesn't have people on, or he can't get people on. It is hard to get guests, I'm thinking. But even bring
It
on
is.
chatters like you or me. Like, I mean, some of them will bring on some fucking losers, but they won't bring on the goods.
Yeah, look, KB made Mr. Kill Everything a star.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
But Mr. Kill is a star in his own mind. He he's entertaining, dude. People like to watch him. What are you smoking on?
I'm smoking a cigar.
Oh, nice.
So this is my I bought a box of 100 of these little Dominican cigars,
Okay.
and I promised my wife that I will quit smoking, and so I'm
You
burning
just
through
smoke
them.
those, or you quit smoking cigarettes?
I haven't smoked a cigarette in like 30 years. So,
Oh, okay.
and this only started about 6 or 8 months ago, and I've always smoked a cigar every now and then, but lately I've been smoking way too many and way too often, and I'm an old man. It's probably not good for me.
Dude, I quit
So,
smoking cigarettes the first of the year. I haven't had a cigarette since January or December 31st. But I'm smoking a fucking robot dick now. These vape things. Just a couple puffs here and there when I'm chilling.
yeah, but the vape things are nothing like cigarettes were, you know?
No, this is Miami Mint. It tastes like fucking like a mojito.
Oh, I don't drink either, so I wouldn't do those. Um,
I quit drinking too.
yeah.
It's
You
giving
did,
it all
or
up. Yeah, I quit drinking for Lent.
for Lent? I quit about almost 9 years ago.
Oh, nice.
So
Did you have a problem?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I might have wound up like Patton Oswalt's wife um,
I've been
at
there.
some point. Like I didn't really think it was a problem, but and I wasn't drinking during the day or anything, but I found myself sleeping at my desk all day long.
Mm.
Um, and I had a much bigger office until after COVID, and I had my own. I was like in my own section, and it's my own place. So I used to put a do not disturb sign on the door, and I would just go to sleep for hours at a time. And
Nice.
I started really looking forward to the drink after work,
Yeah.
and then it was the drink after work and the Xanax. So there's nothing like a Xanax, an Ambien, and some shots of Jameson.
Oof. Yeah, dude.
And
No, I hear you. I hear you. I had a problem with Xanax myself, but I was doing Xanax and painkillers like OxyContin at the time.
wow,
Yeah, I didn't drink it all, but yeah, I gave that up like 13 years ago.
the Xanax is some wild stuff, and they
Oh,
fucking
dude.
hand it out like candy.
It was I never bought it on the street, always prescribed, and I had such a problem with it fucking falling asleep at work, fucking eating handfuls of it.
So I kind of like knew I had a problem when I started doctor shopping,
Yep.
And I learned that I'm a bi-state kind of guy, so I'm in New York and New Jersey. And when I found out they weren't sharing pharmaceutical records between the two, I could get it filled here and get it filled there, and nobody would know. And then when I started to like count how many I had left,
Oh
and
yeah.
then think I had to get a refill right away, and it all became about getting a refill. I was like, yeah, maybe it's time. But I was about to end my you shit the bed on my third marriage, and I didn't want to do that. So it was that was
Dude,
the
my wife told me, she said, it's either me or the pills. And I was like, all right, well, obviously choosing you. So yeah. Same
yeah.
kind of thing, I
Um,
guess.
yeah, I go to 12 step, and there's a lot of guys that have been presented with that choice. So
Yeah.
be thankful that you were able to make it and stick with it.
It was a no
Um,
brainer. Just had my second child, you know, and I love my wife like more than anything. It was, I thought that no one knew I had a problem. You know what I mean? Like, I was pretending, but then it was presented to me like, oh yeah, dude, yeah, we all know. I was like, oh shit, I'm done.
yeah, I didn't think I had much of one either. And then after I stopped, when I had a couple of employees come and tell me how completely different I was,
Yeah,
and how things had changed, I was like, oh, maybe I did.
yeah, yeah. At my job, I was like, when I quit doing drugs or pills, and like I was talking to a coworker, and I was like, yeah, man, I just stopped doing drugs. I was like, you probably didn't know. He's like, oh yeah, we knew, dude. What are you talking about? You were fucking zooted all the time at work. What are you talking about? I dealt poker at the time. I was a poker dealer, so like we were all, everyone was on something, you know. But it was a blessing. I'm glad I would never. I don't even take that shit if it's prescribed now. Like, oh, I have anxiety. No, I'll just deal with it. Nope.
I I had hand surgery a year ago, and the guy gave me some kind of oxy something or whatever, and I didn't take it, and I just had a bunch of dental work, and they wanted it, and I was like, give me the 800 milligram Motrins, I'll take those,
Yeah.
and live with that, because
I'll
I
take the
really,
painkillers if they're prescribed and I have pain. I will do that. I'm not a fucking tough guy because I can't. I'm a pussy. Like I'm in pain, but I know like once the prescription's out, I'm not gonna go ask Jamal for fucking some pills off the street kind of thing. It's a one and done. But Xanax, I won't fuck around with because I love it. Like I love that drug. It was so nice. It makes you forget things and you feel great. You know?
and nobody annoys you.
No,
That's the,
everything is great.
you
You're like,
know,
whatever, dude.
and there's
Fucking
like nothing like being in an airplane with like uber turbulence, and you're bouncing all around. Everybody think around them is thinking they're gonna die, and you're like, no, this is great, man.
yeah. You're like, fine, dude. We're good.
This is all really good. I remember Dr. Drew told a story that when I don't know if it was when Xanax first came out, but I think it was, or when they came out with some new formulation, and the pharmaceutical reps were selling it, and their big thing was it's not addictive. And he was like, dude, it's addictive, you know? And and they were, no, it's fine. It's fine. And
Yeah, that's
but
crazy.
it is some crazy stuff. Yeah, I don't know how you feel about our vice president, but when you read his story and you read about hillbilly elegy, it's it's like all of Appalachia was destroyed
Oh yeah.
by the oxycodone and whatnot. And the funny part is, I can't remember what the book was, the name of the book that I read, and it all started with one guy made an offhand comment about it's not being addictive, but he was talking about it in a very specific instance, and the pharmaceutical company took it and said, and he's like a doctor at like Brigham and Women's in Boston or Harvard or someplace like that. And it was like they quoted him, and that's what they were using as sales material. And by the time the cat got out of the bag, it was a little too late to put it back in. So,
That no, I don't. I mean, I voted for Trump and Vance, but I don't. I never watched that movie. I feel like I don't. I didn't want to see it. I don't know much of his story. I know his mom was a drug addict or something, but I didn't follow much of it. But yeah, that OxyContin was crazy in the early 2000s. I feel like that's around the time he's talking about, right?
yeah. I've never seen the movie. I did read the book because it was just at one time, it was a really popular book. And
Yeah.
I thought, oh, let me read it. And Peter Sky Parker chiming in with what we expect from Peter. You guys sold me on it. Time to get some Xannies.
Yeah. I mean, they are awesome. I'm not gonna lie, but personally, it just don't work for me.
It's amazing how much you can lose at a blackjack table while on Xanax and think it's absolutely fine.
Oh yeah,
You know?
yeah, dude. Nothing
Uh,
bothers you, and you don't remember the next day. You're like, wait, what? What happened?
no.
Damn.
But did you have those things where somebody would remind you of that and then it would start to come back in bits and pieces?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. They'd be like, you remember what you said yesterday? I'm like, no. Was it bad? Yeah, it was a lot of reminding me what happened.
Yeah, that was my that was my
Yeah.
thing. I would get like apparently I would have with an ex-wife. I had great. Apparently, I used to tell her how much I loved her and wanted to have a baby with her. And in my mind, I never thought I wanted to have children, and always thought that I was clear about that.
But
And
when you're all fucked
we
up, you wanted some kids.
Oh man, yeah, and it's hilarious because it's so you go through this 12-step thing, and they you you kind of got to make amends, right? And I
Hmm.
remember going to her to make amends, and you think like, oh, I'm just gonna say that I was a bad, it was a bad thing, and I did some bad stuff, and it's all gonna be good. And she was like, oh no, wait, there's more, and then started telling me stuff. I was like, holy shit, did I really? But
Damn. No, I think
yeah,
I got lucky. I've been with my wife for 23 years, so like we were like thick and thin type. We're the you know in it for the whole long run. So it was a no brainer when she told me like, "Yo, dude," and because I knew if she was telling me there was an issue, because like I mean we smoke weed, we drink, like we're not a fucking goody two shoes, I guess. But
right.
if she was telling me there was an issue, there was an issue type of thing.
Yeah, I
And we already had kids too, so like I'm sure I was telling her I want more kids, like that kind of shit. You get very
yeah.
lovey dovey on it too.
Oh
But I
yeah.
mean, I like all drugs though, man. Like that's my problem now. Like I don't do those, but I still do other drugs. I smoke too much weed. I'm not drinking right now, but I'm still, I'm smoking fucking tons of weed instead. I'll eat mushrooms if I get them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
drugs.
that stuff was for me when I was young. The
Yeah,
Peter Sky Parker, Decline host. He also participated in multiple threesomes, male, female,
male,
female. Thank
female,
you, Peter,
female.
for pointing that
No
out.
shit,
Yeah,
dude.
those were the days, man.
Were you were
But
you were you on Xanax having like fucking
no, it
orgies?
was just that was just part of. It's weird. It was just part of life.
Yeah, totally, dude.
And so, um, you
If that
know,
opportunity arises, why wouldn't you do it?
and and people did it. I mean, I'm in New York. I guess it was just sort of a thing for a while, and
Yeah, it's all over. Yeah.
and so it's one of those things that just happened. But yeah, I stopped. It's funny. I stopped smoking pot because I was watching friends of mine who were potheads, and of course it was illegal. But I was watching friends of mine who were potheads, and like they just weren't going anywhere. Like
Yeah.
nothing was happening in their lives. And I was like, and I also got really paranoid when I was on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, that's pretty much why I stopped doing it.
I still get a little paranoid sometimes, but it's almost like exactly what you just said. Like I get paranoid about like where am I at? Where am I at in life? What am I doing with my you know what I mean? Like it's those type of anxieties that come up when I'm super high. Like what am I doing with myself? Why am I high right now? Like
I
I
know,
don't
but you
drink,
can
but
also,
they started selling these things. They're let me see here if I can. Oh, no, they're 20 milligram fucking THC drinks. Oh, there it is. Called Delta. Look at you can buy these at the liquor store now. Like they're pretty good. They get you a nice little buzz, no alcohol. But if you like the like CBD, it's CBD Delta 8 shit.
yeah, they don't let you do that here in New York. So,
No,
for,
but
for the,
you got weed's legal there, isn't it?
yeah, but it's really, if you could use the term, it's really more legal in New Jersey. It's legal here, but the whole process of licensing has been a giant clusterfuck
Yeah,
because it's like everything else here. There's money involved.
yeah.
And when they passed the law here, it was also they were going to give licenses to people who'd been negatively affected by marijuana laws. They got
Huh?
priority. So it's like if you'd been to jail for weed and stuff, you would have an easier time getting a license. And then the communities were against it. But up until about a year ago, there were dozens of illegal weed shops
Oh yeah,
all
dude.
over the place.
I was in New York City not last August, but the August before that. My father-in-law, he was buried in Brooklyn, and we stayed in the city. And there was like four shops around me that were selling like weed, but it wasn't weed. It was all CBD Delta 8 type weed, and they were trying to pass it off like real weed. And I was like, this isn't
Oh
real
yeah.
weed. Like, what are you doing?
I've had that experience, but you had a bunch of places open. There was one around the corner for me. They spent a shit ton of money on this place. Just the signage and all that.
Oh yeah. Oh dude,
It
it
had
had
to
great.
be
It looked like a awesome weed shop. Yeah,
a
neon
couple of
lights.
$100,000. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they were selling weed. I mean, it wasn't, the CBD, THC stuff.
Mm.
And they were doing really well and then one day the police came and closed them down because they were an illegal weed
Of
shop.
course.
And I think it had a lot more to do with they probably weren't paying the taxes on it more than anything else. And now it's still there, but they took the dispensary sign down and they somehow jerry rigged that into a deli sign. But it's the only deli that I know that you go into that the windows are blacked out and you have to ring a buzzer to get in.
Yeah,
So
that's some good prosciutto right there.
one of my favorite stories is in Sunnyside, Queens, there was an illegal weed shop and they were kicking ass. And so we say illegal weed, and like most people would think, oh, it's a little storefront and it's kind of hidden. No, this was, you know, the big, like, it looked like a big giant dispensary. So the city comes and closes it down. And two morons, a week after they got shut down, decide they're going to rob the place. And they got all basically military gear, and they're carrying like M16s or Kalashnikovs or whatever. And they fly out of the car and they run up to the place, and the gate is down. And there's a notice from the city that this is closed forever. And they wound up robbing a couple of people on the street. And it was just like one of those, gang that couldn't shoot straight movies.
Yeah,
Uh,
they got
Very
caught.
funny.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know the follow up on it. And New York has been such a strange place where getting arrested for just about anything doesn't really mean much anymore. You get tossed, you get let out pretty quickly.
No
And
bail type of shit. Yeah.
yeah, except for the guy that the Daniel Penny guy, the guy that he accidentally strangled the guy on the subway
Oh
who
yeah.
who was attacking people.
Yeah.
That guy they locked up and
Yeah.
didn't want to give him bail, and
Well, he got
it's
out
just
though, right? He won his
he
case.
eventually got off, yeah.
Yeah.
And but
I mean, Diddy's not out. He's in jail for
you
fucking.
know,
He's still in Brooklyn lockup, isn't he?
he's not getting out.
No.
And everything that I've heard about that, it's like the Metropolitan Correctional Facility or whatever. Everything I've heard about that place is that it's horrible.
Oh, I bet. Yeah,
And
I would never want to go to jail in New York City, dude. Anyway,
that's like the people say you can walk by that one and hear people screaming
yeah, it
from it.
doesn't seem
So,
like a nice place to be. I mean, I love New York
right.
City, but I don't think their public facilities are good.
No,
No,
spending a night in jail in New York is very scary. Very scary.
I can't
And
imagine.
so let's see. It's Chris Mack. They had it in Vegas too. The stores on Fremont Street sell CBD bud, but they claim it's legit. Got to go a mile away from Fremont to get dispensaries because of laws about how close to casinos. But they do have, I don't know how long ago that was, Chris, but 2 years ago when I was there, they had a legit dispensary right on Fremont. And then last year when I was there, I don't remember it being there. So,
I honestly don't mind CBD, like because I grew up smoking weed in the '90s, and that shit was all fucking swag, Mexican brown bud. So the CBD sometimes gets me as high as it did in high school, so I'm fine with it.
I,
Why not?
I believe me, the stuff that I smoked was crazy because I used to get like at one time in my life I lived in Northwest Florida and we used to grow it outside, and you would put it
Oh,
in
okay,
you'd put it in a bread bag, and you'd pretty much have to smoke the entire bag of bread
right?
in order to get high.
Yeah, dude.
And then a couple of years ago, I wound up with a physical condition that they couldn't seem to treat. And some doctor convinced me that smoking weed was going to be the solution. That was the only thing that was going to ease the pain. And I tried it, and I got so fucked up so fast. And
Oh shit.
yeah, I was thinking it was like Philip Seymour Hoffman, right? Was like a heroin addict
Yeah.
in his story, right? So and he quit for a long time. And then the next time he took it, the next time he used it, he went back to the dose that he had been using before
Yep.
and was dead shortly thereafter.
It's a common mistake that happens with addicts. Yeah.
Yeah. And
He probably got hit with some fent though. That's what I'm always
I would,
suspicious.
yeah, I would imagine that too. One of the kids who worked for me, her brother died. We're talking about Xannies. Our brother bought some Xannies on the street, and they were fentanyl, and it
Dude,
killed him. He
I
just,
got out of the fucking drug pill game like right before fentanyl hit the fucking mainstream. I thankfully, dude, because I'm sure I would. I was buying. I wasn't buying Xanax, but I was buying OxyContin off the street, and I'm sure I would have bought some shit. And it was probably fucked up. So I'm thankful for that. Yeah.
I used to joke around about how everything for me was pharmaceutical by the time I really got into this stuff.
Yeah, that's what I felt
So,
like it was fine because it was by fucking I could look it up online and see the pill and I was like, all right, it's fine. Nowadays they fucking make them look like that, but they're full of fentanyl.
they had I saw a documentary one time, and there was a kid in Colombia who was making the pills, and he had a pill press, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a hand press,
No,
and you would never be able to tell the difference
no.
between those and the fake ones. I remember when Quaaludes
Damn.
were a thing, and they were always hard to get. But it, but it, the thing was, the fake ones weren't going to hurt you, but they weren't going to do anything for you either. And then it would kill you.
Okay.
But I can remember like one of my friends, no, you take a credit card, and it was like what 741 I think was the number, and it would be I think 741 was the number on a Quaalude, and then it had a score line that went through it, And he was like, that's how you can tell if it's real because you can measure it with a credit card and this touches that and then that. And I'm like, yeah, right.
There's a science to every drug, dude.
Quaaludes were an amazing, those were amazing. That's
Yeah, I never
that's
experienced that, but I mean, I've
something that
seen
will never be repeated.
Wolf of Wall Street is like someone has said that has done Quaaludes said that's the best representation on film of Quaaludes.
I,
Because those, you
yeah,
ever seen that movie? You've seen that movie, right?
I've seen it. Yeah, I don't remember that part of it, but yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, they were like really into Quaaludes, I guess.
Yeah, now I'm all about, I'm not the other way. I'm not an evangelist for not doing drugs and stuff. But at the same time, I am there. If I do work with a bunch of people who have
I got
problems
you.
with it.
Yeah,
I was really lucky that I was able to just stop.
yeah. No,
And
it's fucking it's hard, dude. It's really hard, especially just
yeah,
like cold, not cold turkey, but just stop. Yeah. I mean,
and
I've done it
it's.
on certain things, but I haven't never stopped any like all of it completely. You know, that's the
Did you ever
next step.
watch Breaking Bad?
Oh yeah, big fan.
Right. So you know when the two guys, what is it, Skinny Pete and the other guy, were in
Mm-hmm.
an NA meeting and they were talking about the best meth they ever had because they knew the meth addicts in the room were the greatest people to sell it to.
Right. Yeah.
I came out of a 12-step meeting one time and these guys were all walking over to this car. It was a Mustang. And the next thing I knew, there were like police lights and all this other
Oh
stuff.
no shit.
And yeah, it was Coke, and the guy was selling it out of the car, and he used to come to the meeting, and after the meeting, these guys go out and buy it. Apparently, I was the only person that didn't know that that was going on. I can be pretty naive.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I wouldn't have noticed because you don't think like, oh shit, we're at a fucking meeting. Who's what? Like, what are you doing? You can't do that here. Wait,
I
what?
have a I have a good friend who's a lawyer. One night I got asked, some guy asked me to give him a ride home after the meeting. And this lawyer guy bumped me. Like he walked into me. And I didn't know him that well. And it was really obnoxious. And he walked into me and he's like, don't be stupid. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And pulled me to the side and he's like, those guys they're holding was his word. They've all got drugs on them. You're just gonna wind up getting yourself in trouble. And I learned a lesson early on. I gave a guy a ride one time. He needed a he was applying for a job as a maintenance guy at a hotel complex near me. And could you give me a ride over? I got to turn in my application. I never asked him to see the application. And I don't know, about 6 or 7 months later, I was sitting in a meeting and this guy was talking about how he used to go to the Budget Motel to buy all of his dope. And I was realizing, oh shit, what this guy was doing.
He was getting.
Yeah, and I just didn't think he was getting a job. And it was like, and I'm sure that the minute the cops would have showed up, that stuff would have wound up on the floor of my car, you know?
Yeah, and then you're explaining, oh no, I'm just driving him from a meeting. Like we're actually coming from a fucking meeting. Like, yeah, sure, buddy, sure.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it's the lawyer said to me, he goes, no, he goes, eventually you'll get away with it, but it'll cost you 12 grand to do it.
Yep.
And I was like, you're 100% right.
Oh yeah,
So that's it.
you can
So
get out of the charges, but it's gonna cost you a fortune. Yeah.
that's are you watching the steel toe stuff at all?
I only catch it if one of the shows I'm watching is covering it, but no, I do not watch Steel Toe.
It just blows me away that this guy, that the Aaron guy just talks about his his
Oh yeah.
whole trouble and all that stuff. And the thing I keep thinking of is how much money is this costing? Like it's got to be thousands of dollars. just
That's why
thousands.
he's so concerned about the goal. He's got to make that 250 a day, bro.
He's got, yeah, he's got. Is it 250 now, or is it?
I don't know. I was
Or do
just
you know what
throwing a
it?
number out there. I see it. To me, I feel like that's probably what he would ask for, at least $300 a day. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought he was
Like,
like getting
I
350
watch
or something.
Melton when Melton covers him. I'll watch it for a little bit and then I'll turn it off. I'll watch Pretty Antisocial. I'll watch their coverage of it, but I can't watch Steel Toe on my own ever.
Yeah, I can't. I was saying to Eckel earlier, I have I have to watch them through a filter,
Hmm.
and the way that I normally prepare for the show is I will watch a bunch of the clips and stuff. There haven't been a lot of clips this last week, and I'm incapable of. I can't sit through more than 5 or 10 minutes of Steel Toe.
Oh no, no.
It,
He's hard to watch for sure. His whole shtick is annoying. His cadence, his look, everything about him annoys me. I'm starting to
the
get to that point with KB though, like because he's almost the same thing. It's a broken record, you know.
Yeah, I've been there with KB for a while, and
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot
my
of people are honestly. It's
I put up a post today. I He was at his noon show. He was about 20 minutes in, had 483 people in it. And, I'd kill for 483, but
yeah,
he used to have 1,100, 1,200 in there at a time. And I looked at Playboard and was looking at view count, and he's declining
oh totally.
in overall views. But and it's
I
funny
think
because go ahead.
I think everybody's declining a little bit in viewership, from what I've noticed, but I'm also gauging that off of my own interaction with the shows is down. Like I don't watch the shows as much as I did a year ago for sure. I was deleting photos out of my phone and screenshots or whatever, and it was like last year I was watching a lot. I was taking screenshots of people chatting, whatever. You know what I mean? Like stupid dumb shit. But like I was watching a lot more a year ago than I am now for sure.
Yeah, there were a lot more people who got involved in it, and there was a lot more fakery involved, and so much of it just got to be a performance, right? Like towards the end of, say, a guy like Stuttering John, he was just trying to piss people off
Yeah.
to send him super chats, and you know,
I
it,
never
it, it
watched Stuttering John, honestly. I don't watch Shuli Network either though. I can't. And something about Shuli just bothers me.
I used to watch it. And then when the super chats got overwhelming and a show was like 40 minutes of super chats,
Yeah.
I don't watch it. And I have watched it. I'm kind of friendly with Shuli.
Okay.
And I've tried to watch it lately, and it just, they're, it seems like they're efforting their laughter,
Yeah.
and it's not natural. And there was real animosity between John and Shuli that was interesting. And John really tried to fuck Shuli's life up, you know, when it goes
Yeah.
back to the Howard Stern stuff. And so it
But
was
see, I don't
like,
care about that. I don't care about their personal problems they had fucking 15 years ago on a stupid radio show I never watched. Like, so to me, it seemed, and that conveys to me as someone like myself watching on the screen, like this seems like a personal beef between Shuli and Stuttering John, and I could care less about them both.
yeah, I have to admit, I'm a sucker for the lottery winner that pisses away all their money story. And that was the Stuttering John thing to me. And I couldn't help but watch it.
No, I get that. I get it. I totally get it. For me, it's just not a thing that I enjoy. And it's funny also for me that I don't know, I keep saying for me, but I ask people in my daily life, you ever heard of Stuttering John, or have you heard of fucking Chad Zumach or Kevin Brennan even? 9 times out of 10, they've heard of Stuttering John. Never heard of either anyone else I talk about in the Dabbleverse. So like,
Right.
and I get he was on the Tonight Show for years. People know if they ever watched the Tonight Show. I'm asking older people too. So maybe that's why
I,
my kids never heard of anybody's.
I was at a Thanksgiving family thing a couple of years ago, and no one under 25 knew who Stuttering John was.
Yeah,
People from 25 to 50, maybe one or two of them know who he was. And the older people they knew the name, but they didn't know him, right?
right.
Like they
It sounded
recognized him.
familiar. That's what I get. It's like, no, that sounds familiar. I'm like, how about Kevin Brennan? Doesn't sound familiar. Neil Brennan, I've had that a few times. Like I'll ask people my age that have nothing to do with any of this, and they know all these people, but I mean, or they know Stuttering John, but they don't know Chad Zumach, but they know Neil Brennan because Chappelle's show that was big.
Right. That was huge. It's huge.
Yeah,
And Stern was huge, but I don't, and I probably listened to it back then. And
the
I
E
remember
show.
I
I
remember
watched the E
Stuttering
show.
John. I never really watched the E show. I wasn't really not really much of a TV watcher. So I didn't really see that. My experience with Stern is I listened to him. He was still on terrestrial radio. And the reason why I stopped listening to him more than any other was the commercials would go
Yeah,
on for like 20 minutes. And that would always seem like I would get in my car, they would start the commercials. And when I got out of my car at work,
it's the
the
same way
commercials
now.
would keep going.
It,
And
it's the same way now. Like in my car, I'll throw on like Sean Hannity when I'm going to pick up my kid, and it's a 20-minute drive. It's 15 minutes of commercials. They still do the same fucking shit these days. It's ridiculous. I don't know how anyone actually listens to it.
look, I don't know either. I don't know. And it's
Someone was
funny
saying
because
that
I
about
had,
Kumia's show on WABC. If you actually listen to it, not like the clipped version on the internet, if you listen to it in your car or whatever on the actual radio, it's just all commercials. And he's barely talking. Good for
I've
him.
had a long hate of commercials. I mean, since I was a kid, I hated them, which is why
Oh
like
yeah.
I didn't know about Seinfeld until probably it was in his fifth or sixth year, very much because I was more of like I would if I was watching TV, I was watching PBS just because there were no commercials. It was like I I I couldn't take the commercials, and now I'm like, if I can pay to avoid commercials, I will do that. And I was
Oh yeah.
joking because I said I think I'm one of the only people I know with a Rumble Premium.
Yeah, dude, that's funny. I have YouTube Premium because you skip the commercials because they're
I
they're
have
awesome
that.
too.
I have that as well. My monthly subscription costs are out of control.
Dude,
You
yeah,
know,
I've got them under control in the last few months. But like I was subbed to almost every shit show in the Dabbleverse. When I looked at it, you go into your YouTube and you see like what you're subscribing to. And I was like, oh my god, what am I doing? Who is this show? I don't even know this show. Why am I
right?
subscribed to it?
And some of it you just linger on forever. I opened my first
Yeah.
Patreon account was under an old email and like a Hotmail account. And I subscribed to some show and I never pay. I'm not really the best at paying attention to my bills. And
Mm-mm.
I think I paid for that thing for 5 years and hadn't listened to the show for more than a few months
Dude,
in the
I
beginning. And it
pay
was,
for Sirius XM for on the app. I pay for that. I think it's like $10 a month, and I never listened to it. And I did back in the day when I was listening to Opie and Anthony or then Jimmy or whatever. And
right.
and I still haven't canceled it because my buddy in California, I gave it to him. The password probably about 4 years ago. He still uses it. So I'm like, I can't cancel it because he's used.
So I've been,
And if I need
as
it, it's
I've,
there. I got it if I need
right.
it.
I just gave it up. It's like it just wasn't worth. It just wasn't worth doing it. We're just never
No,
listening to it.
no,
And
there's no.
s-
I cancel
s-
all my Patreons. All of them are gone. I don't pay for anyone on Patreon.
I like to, I do Patreon and I do some
Who do you
YouTube
got?
memberships,
Who do you got in your Patreon? Who you following?
but I try not to super chat. It's mostly like Cardiff, Tukey, WATP, Blind Mike, Vinnie Paulino show. I think I still pay for subreddit surfing if that's even still on there. And
So do you feel like they're putting out content that you enjoy, so you're trying just to repay them in a way, right?
it's
Because
my
that's always
support
my
of them because
thing. Yeah,
I'm not a
support
super
them.
chatter, and I
Right,
don't. And yes, it's exactly the reason. Like you're giving it to me,
right,
and I like your content, so I'm willing to pay you for it.
right. I was always
And
the guy too that like I've never ever fucking used like a pirated a movie or anything. I've always paid or rented or I don't know. I just feel like I'm cheating if I
that,
don't.
yeah, that's my thing. I'm, I'm in Queens, and for years and years and years, I had a storefront office, and I used to get the guys that would come in selling what was obviously stolen jewelry, and I would never buy it because my feeling was I'm just encouraging more people
Right.
stealing,
I'm the
and
same way. Yeah.
that was my and I just wouldn't do it. And
Yeah, you feel bad about it because every time you would look at that piece, you'd be like, "I got this. It's stolen. Someone's missing this, and I got a good deal, but it's not right."
I've been robbed. I've been robbed at work twice at gunpoint and
Damn.
broken into a couple of times, and I don't it's just like I don't want anybody else to have to go through that.
Wait, you
So
got robbed at gunpoint twice?
gunpoint, yeah,
Whoa, dude. The first
twice.
time, what was going through your mind when you saw that gun?
I thought the guy was joking.
All right.
And the first time I was at my desk, I was opening mail or something, looking at paper, and the guy said, "This is a robbery." And I looked up and I saw the gun, and it took me a second or two to register that this really was a robbery. You know,
Damn.
the second time was a little rougher because it was two guys, and I wound up getting a little. They got a little physical with me. So
Oof. They roughed you up?
um, the guy had a gun, and he rammed it into my forehead a couple of times.
Oof. Kind of
And
pistol whipped you in a way. Yeah.
yeah, and the first guy never got caught, and the second time they did get caught. And of course, they were tough guys when they robbed me, and they were complete pussies when they got caught by the cops. And they they so the cops arrest them. This is one of my favorite stories. The cops arrest them, and by the time they get to the police station, they had turned in all sorts of other people. And one of the people that they turned in is a known mobster. And that was their thing when they robbed me. They didn't get a lot of money. They got like $100 or something. They thought I had more money, which they didn't get. And they robbed me, but they told me they were from the mafia. And they told me they were coming back, and I had to give them $250 a week. Was what they were going to do to me. But in any event,
That's
they
crazy. You're getting
turned.
shakedown for fucking protection. That's nuts.
So they ratted out one of their. The guy turned out to be a relative of some sort, a cousin, and I don't know whether it was like an actual cousin, like a first cousin, or it was just somebody else related. Anyway, they turned this guy in, and the cops, the one cop said to me, it was the first time in his career, and he'd been a cop for about 20 years at that point, flashbang grenades, dogs, the whole thing. And 2 days, and he knew that these guys had turned him in because the only people that knew about this delivery he was getting was these two brothers who robbed me. And one of the brothers wound up getting stabbed, and he was in the holding center in Queens, and somebody put a Bic pen through his abdomen
Oh, damn. Because he was ratting
So-
people out.
because he was ratting people out. Yeah, and but they were
Damn,
like
dude.
total pussies, and the one, one of the guys was crying because they were going to put him in a jail cell, and he was claustrophobic, and could they please not let him do it? And they threw him in a cell with a bunch of other guys, and they said he just sat there and cried for the next 8 or 9 hours until they took him away. But they were sure as shit tough when they were robbing me. you
How
know?
much would he have made off with if he robbed you successfully? Like was it a good
They
store?
thought I had $5,000 or $6,000,
Damn.
and I really had like a couple of hundred, if I even had that.
So they weren't getting what they fucking wanted.
But they had robbed 13 or 14 places, and by that time, and they only got caught. Sort of an amazing story to me, anyway. They only got caught because one of my customers was on the Queens robbery squad and was a friend, and he decided he would take a look because they couldn't catch these guys. They were pattern robbers. They couldn't catch them, and he decided he would take a look at all the data that they had. And what had happened was a cell phone was stolen during one of these robberies. And they got the phone records and all of that stuff. And they did the phone records on all the people that they had called, right? And nobody seemed, there was no criminals on that list, so they just let it go. Well, this guy looked into calls made back to that phone shortly after, and one of the guys who called back to that phone matched the description of one of the suspects. And that's
So
how
he
they
did some
caught him.
detective work.
Detective work, but this thing had gone on for like 8 or 9 months before they caught him. And, I always feel like if this guy had never done that, they would never have caught him.
That's kind of crazy. That's how a lot of those things could probably get solved. Someone takes an interest.
Yep. And the reason why I was robbed particularly was because the guy went to court in the morning on a domestic abuse charge. So he goes to court in the morning, and what happens is the judge isn't there. This is what they tell him. The judge isn't there, and he needs to come back at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And in his mind, he was convinced that this was a setup, and actually what they were going to do was they were going to arrest him when he came back. So they went out and did 4 or 5 of these robberies, trying to raise bail money. And the great part of this story is that they actually have pictures of them in the bank making the bank deposit before the guy went to court that afternoon. So
Pre-planning their bail money by robbing
but
people.
yeah, it's just like, oh, great. So maybe that no bail thing's not a bad idea.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
I don't know. People are fucking dumb when it
It's-
boils down to it.
It is. And then, New York has gone through phases where it was very dangerous. It became very safe. Over the last couple of years, we've gone back into sort of this dangerous phase, but now we seem to be back more with it's more enforcement of law and stuff. But I don't know if it's Trump or not, but there used to be groups of immigrants that would hang out on street corners, and I'm going like that because to my right and left, when I leave here, there's bodegas on each corner, and these guys used to hang out there all day drinking. And to be honest, they made me feel safe because they were always there and they were nice guys.
Yeah.
I have not seen them since January,
Wow.
and they're just not there anymore. And
That's
the one guy
interesting.
on the corner who I do talk to said to me his beer sales have fallen through the floor.
I
So
wonder. I wonder what happened to them. If it was like, did they get deported, or were they just like, fuck it, we're illegal, so we're not gonna be hanging out in front, or
I think it's the hanging out in front thing, and I think New York City started reinforcing some of the, no drinking in public laws
uh,
and whatnot. Because if I go about 5 or 6 blocks from here, there's a place where all the migrants hang out. You guys, a lot of places would liken it to their Home Depot, where they'll
yeah,
pull up and get workers and shit.
yeah, yeah.
That place is still pretty crowded, but it's
Okay.
the last one. There's a big paint store that used to have them all in front. They're not there anymore. So I don't know if it's just that the world has changed and they don't have to be there, but this one place still has them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it's just the drinking thing. Maybe they're cracking down locally.
But it was very funny because when the migrants were coming in during Biden, these people were complaining about them, which I thought was hilarious. And
Dude,
I
they don't
I
do that
heard
at my Home Depot. I've never seen anyone hanging out in front waiting for a job. Like I
now,
don't see it
don't
here.
dox yourself, but where are you like geographically in the States?
I'm in Florida, in
That's fine.
Northeast Florida, St. Augustine. Everyone knows where I live. Yeah, and I mean, I live in a nice little city, but it's Florida. But there's no, I don't see any fucking illegals looking for jobs.
So there were like 4 or 5 spots around here. Home Depot was one of them. Down by the Jersey Shore, they actually put up a shed for these guys because the heat in the summer was so bad. And
That's
then
nice.
there was an Acme supermarket in Manasquan, New Jersey, which it had used to just, you could just drive in there and get day labor, right? I, One of the contractors was telling me, he goes, yeah, but it had become almost like gang controlled because you would have when you drove up, he said what it used to happen was when you drove up, like 100 guys would surround your car wanting to get work at work. And then he said, all of a sudden it started to be like maybe 4 or 5 guys. And what it would be those 4 or 5 guys were like the brokers. They would negotiate the terms, then you would hire the guy, but that first guy had to be paid. And he was taking money off the top and then giving it to the actual worker.
That makes sense. Someone's gonna be fucking hustling somewhere, especially with the
Somebody's got
immigrants, because
well,
they
there's
probably don't speak
always
English. They're like, oh, this guy, he's probably one of the fucking mules that brought him here, coyotes.
they got a guy who speaks enough
Yeah.
English to negotiate the deal, you know. But this guy said you could not. But if you did hire one of these guys and you wanted to hire him again, you had to go through the big guy, or
I would never
he.
hire any of these dudes. By the way, would you ever hire someone like that? Just fucking, what do you can't do it yourself? What are they
Um,
hiring them for?
I actually
Tile
painting
work?
things like that. I had an office that needed to be painted, and one of the women that worked for me was Ecuadorian, and the painter that we had didn't show up, like the legit painter. And she was like, "Oh, I know somebody. I'll take care of it." She walked over to this paint store, got these 2 guys, and they came in and they painted the entire place. And they
I can
did a
see
good
that.
job.
That's a
So,
friend of the coworker.
so it's but
No, I mean
yeah,
those dudes do work hard. Yeah, I've worked with some immigrants. They all lived in a hotel room. I had a job one time painting Navy ships, and I ended up being in charge of about 14 Peruvians. They all lived in a fucking hotel room together. There's one guy that spoke English, and he would deal with me, and he would tell the rest of them what to do, you know. But they were fucking the best, dude. Love those dudes. They
I
worked like a
once
motherfucker.
I once went to look at an apartment and in a 6 family building here in Queens, and we turned out to be the wrong apartment, and we went in there, and there were rolled up mats all over the apartment
Yeah.
with flip-flops like on each of them, sliders mostly. And it turned out that that's what it was, is they were renting sleeping space to all those guys. Now, those guys coming here, making the money, sending it back, and building a life is very different than what was going on over the last couple of years. And
Yeah.
I
You
got to
mean
love
like
those people, but
the people that were just coming here to influence our elections? Is that what you mean?
well, they were coming here because the money was free. That was the difference. It was, up until, a few years ago, when you came here, you weren't eligible for a lot of benefits.
Oh, right.
And you were coming to New York and you were staying at the Roosevelt and you were getting a debit card
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and,
Which is crazy, dude, that they were doing that. Like, I know people in this that are from here that could use that. They'd love a fucking hotel stay, you know?
yeah, it's crazy because that was, we were just talking about this the other night.
See,
There was a
Florida didn't do
holiday.
that kind of shit.
Yeah, no, I know.
They bust them out of here. They're like, get the fuck out of here.
I used to
Ain't
live
paying
over in
you.
the Panhandle, which is like living in the South, and
Yeah, yeah.
those
I love the
guys.
Panhandle. Panhandle's nice.
But but here, it got insane. Like
Yeah.
all the hotels. So there were all these hotels that they built over the last few years on Queens Boulevard, and they were like filled with like 80% of the hotel would have like migrants in it, and you'd have
Like,
some poor family from like Germany trying to save a few bucks because they were a mile outside of Manhattan
right?
and checking into one of those places. And
And they're like, this is America, dude? What the fuck? Why are all the hotels full of Spanish speaking Peruvians?
well, it was bad because it wasn't just Spanish speaking. It was like the sort of the worst of the community were up there.
Oh, right.
And there was a Holiday Inn in downtown Manhattan that Holiday Inn itself actually sued because that's what was happening there. And people
Oh,
were
they're
booking rooms and showing up. And there were just story after story of you check into your room and an hour later, the room would be broken into and everything would be stolen. And then when Holiday Inn sued, the activists turned on Holiday Inn.
damn.
You're racist, you're this, you're that. It's just crazy stuff, man.
And you and I both know those hotel rooms in Manhattan are fucking tiny. And they probably had
Yeah,
like 10 people in each one. And there's no room. They're closets, basically.
they they are, and that was the other thing too. Is like you'd have one person who would get the room, and then bring in 6 or 8 of his friends
Yeah.
while they were waiting. And New York has a law that you're not allowed to turn them down.
Oh,
So you can't
you
if the
can't
city
refuse
is
them?
going to yeah if the city's going to pay for them, you cannot refuse them. So
I think,
it
yeah, Mayor Adams he's kind of turning against that. Because didn't he get charged with a bunch of shit? So he's probably like, fuck that, dude. I ain't gonna do this.
yeah, he got charged with a bunch of shit that was related to Turkey, and
Yeah,
Trump
what did
has
he
dropped
do?
all those charges.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, if you read the story, it's really weird, man. Like I was reading the indictment and stuff. He got charged with like really stupid shit that I thought like one of the charges was he was upgraded to business on a Turkish airline and didn't pay for it.
So it was like travel things on an official
Travel stuff, but there
business.
was other stuff too. Like there were buildings, the Turkish consulate to the UN could not pass inspection, and Adams' crew got it to pass inspection, and the accusation was that they'd paid them off to
Oh,
do
yeah.
it.
Upgraded flight.
Yeah, but that was his whole like it's crazy. It's always, follow the money.
Yeah.
So where the money, there's so much money in those countries that's just taken away from the people and spent on all this stuff. That was
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
big thing. Like you could go back to it. One of the things in New York, that the feds changed was LLCs, limited liability corporations. In New York, you could do it so that the real name did not go on the LLC. And they were buying like these billion-dollar apartments in Manhattan, or 14, 15 million, some crazy, crazy prices. And it turned out that it would be like the guy who runs Ghana, you know,
Oh shit.
you
Yeah.
know, yeah, the
Well,
crown princes
I
and
saw a thing like that on Twitter the other day. It was they showed a mansion in the county I live in, Ponte Vedra. It's very nice, upscale, fucking beachfront. And they're like they show this mansion and it says this is Zelensky's house. I was like, what the fuck? He's got a house in my county?
yeah, because that's where they would hide. They would hide the
That's what
money
they
and they would
do.
have a place to go. But they've changed those laws, so they can't do it. They did it. They started doing it. The Fed started doing it. Miami was one of the places where they had to disclose. New York State, New York City, and other places because these
That
guys,
makes
they're
sense. I mean,
dictators.
half of New York is owned by China, isn't it?
Probably, probably. But
That's what they
and
say.
that's the real estate interests are. That's where the real money is in
Hmm.
getting these politicians elected.
Oh,
So.
totally, totally, dude.
And that's what's so funny is the guys that are the big socialist candidates. Most of their money comes from real estate interests.
And funny
So
enough, that's our president is basically how he made his billions was in real estate, right?
right, right. But yeah, he was he was never really. I don't. It was always difficult to do business with him, and there were always stories about him not paying people. He
Oh
was
yeah,
kind of yeah, but this is more the paying off politicians. But again, that's the way New
yeah.
York used to be. I one time had speaking of store signs, I had a sign put up, and the I had to get a building permit for it, and so the sign goes up, and every time the building inspector came in, they would fail it for one reason or another. I called a friend of mine, and he said, "All right, here's the deal. I had to put $50 in a Manila folder and leave it on a table, and leave the room." And the guy said to me, he goes, "Well, I'm just going to check because I was supposed to put other papers in there." He was like, "Oh, I'm just going to check the folder, and if everything is okay, we'll be fine." The paperwork was there after he left, but the $50 was gone, and my sign was approved. So,
That's
you know,
hilarious.
there you go. And I one
Well,
time
I'm
had
not
a guy
surprised.
who converted condos to me that said the building inspectors were getting ridiculous because they started, instead of wanting one fee, they wanted a fee per unit. But Bloomberg really changed all that stuff here. He started using, he started taking the data they had and started putting it together. And now building inspectors wear uniforms. They usually come in pairs.
Less
But
corruption. Yeah.
yeah, to stop that stuff. So
Oh,
they did it.
I'm
But
not surprised, man. I feel like that's how cities like that operate. There's a lot of fucking greasing of palms, I guess. You know.
well, that's New Jersey,
Yeah.
like Hoboken and places like Jersey City. I mean, they've spent years trying to get rid of the corruption, and now they've gotten rid of most of it. But the rules they put in force are so crazy that it's you really do have to know a politician in order to get your property built or to make major changes.
They
And
overcorrected, maybe a little too
yeah,
much.
and there's a joke about the tax because the rules in Hoboken, for example, are so crazy. A drywall contractor was telling me that they actually count the screws in the drywall, and
Damn.
you're you're not allowed. So you put the drywall in, you put the screws in, and you're not allowed to tape it and paint it until after they do this inspection. And so it delayed. Like normally you would come in, you'd put the drywall in, you tape it, right? You'd get it all prepped for painting, prime it. You couldn't do that. So, and then you had to wait to get a building inspector. And so a lot of stuff just sits and waits, and
That's
everything
crazy.
becomes, yeah.
It's like inspection before the inspection because you're gonna inspect it after you tape it and paint it anyway, probably.
Yeah, but I've seen some of the work that was done before those things went into effect, and
Shit.
it's pretty wild. I lived in an apartment building, and I went to change an outlet one time, and I opened it up, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I'd never seen wiring and packing of material to get this receptacle to fit into a wall. It was like there was no way that I could have done, and it was the electricity throughout the place was like that.
Oh,
So,
dude.
but in
Yeah.
any event,
Yeah, houses I feel these days are not made very well. And it's surprising when you go to do some work on it and then you're like, what the fuck? How did this get passed?
oh, I know. It 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 blows me away. I have a house in a town now where they actually come into your house once a year. They want to look at stuff, and
Like who?
it's insane. The code people from the area,
Like
from
to
the
check,
town.
like make sure your smoke detectors are
Make
working
sure
and shit.
smoke detectors, had the smoke detector inspection done today we have a condo over there, and they come and check the smoke detectors, and which is hilarious because when I bought this house, I hired an inspector, one of these home inspection companies, and he took a picture of the circuit breaker box. Anyway, we move in, and I'm like, I realized that the smoke detectors, as I opened them, none of them had batteries in them, and they were all hardwired, but
You
there
still
was
need batteries.
soot all over the walls. And what they had done is they just went to the basement, they turned off the circuit breaker, they took the batteries out of it because the flue in the chimney was broken.
Oh no.
So why fix the flue when we can just not have smoke detectors? And
So
it
they
was
turned it
crazy
off
because,
in the circuit breaker, and so yeah, you
right.
need batteries because it's not turned
And
off.
I had to, I wound up having to I didn't have to rewire. Luckily, the wiring is good, but I had to take them all out, put in new smoke detectors, fix the flue. But we didn't realize it. We just thought the place was dark. And then that my wife was saying the wall in the living room, she goes, like, where did they get this mustard colored from? Mustard color. And
Oh
one day I
no.
just hit it right after we moved in before the paint just came. I just hit it with some Windex and a paper towel, and I couldn't believe the amount of dirt that
It's
came
probably
off it. And I'm like,
nicotine.
it was yellow. No, it was the smoke from the fireplace.
I was gonna say
And they
yellow,
had,
mustard, stainy,
yeah, and the
nicotine.
fireplace itself was brick and it was all black.
Oof.
Just the amount of stuff I had to do to clean that place was unbelievable. But
But you passed inspection, so hey.
past inspection, yeah. And then that was when I realized I hired a guy for like $350, and it turns out these home inspection guys don't know what the fuck they're doing. And of all the things to miss, smoke detectors seems to me to be
You would
a
think.
big one.
Yeah, you would think
You
those are
know,
pretty, key.
and that's what blew me away because he said, "Oh no, they worked fine when I was there," but I looked at the pictures, and
And
the one switch was off,
that's
and I'm
crazy.
like, "How did you
He
not
he
notice
fucking
this?"
robbed you, dude.
Yeah,
Give him
well
a
then I
bad
went and
review
spent.
on Google.
I went and got a what do you call it? A legitimate civil engineer, structural engineer, and paid him $500 to do a legit inspection because I was afraid the place was going to come down.
Yeah. But this is your
This guy,
rental? You gotta do that for
no,
a
it's a
rental, right?
house. House was
Oh,
a
okay.
purchase. I too paid
Oh,
the
I got
shitty
you.
home inspector. Yeah. So it turns out, the home inspectors give you this big contract, and it turns out that if they were wrong, one of the things that you sign to in there is the worst that can happen to them is they have to give you back your money,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah,
don't have any
there's not much
liability.
invested for them. Yeah.
Right, and that's why you got to get a guy with an engineering license or an architect to
Dude,
actually look at
my
it.
sister bought a house in Massachusetts for $700,000 and she did not get it inspected. And she bought it while she was on vacation and like closed when she wasn't even in the country. Didn't get inspected. I was like, "What are you doing? Are you retarded? Like, what's wrong with you?" She's retarded.
Has she had problems with it or no?
Yeah, she needs a new boiler. Crazy. The heat doesn't
Yeah,
work. No shit.
I just,
Her
yeah,
house, her other house that she lived in burned down in September. So she was just like, whatever, dude, let's buy a house,
yeah.
get it
I'm
inspected. You
big.
always got to get inspected. Who cares if you get ripped off? You get two inspectors. You know what I mean? Like you did. If you don't
Well,
trust the first one, you get another
I
one.
learned the lesson is you've got to get a guy that's got a professional license, not just one of these home inspection companies. And,
Hmm.
which is interesting because in I keep talking about the difference between New York and New Jersey. In New York, you can't hire a home inspection company. You actually have to get an engineer,
Okay.
somebody with an engineering license to do it. But in most other states, this guy can go and take a 3-week online class
Yeah, it's like a
and
real
become a
estate
home
license.
inspector.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So in any event, I'm going to bail out in a minute, but let's just see.
All
Peter
right, man.
Sky Parker. I just fixed my boiler after the guys at the plumbing supply store told me I needed a whole new boiler.
Exactly. Yeah, no, at first my sister needed just a new thermostat. That's all she needed. Heat still didn't work. Oh, another guy comes in. You need a new boiler. Yeah. I say just fucking put some more logs on the fire.
Yeah. And
But
there's not really a lot to boilers, you know? I
I
mean,
don't know. I live in Florida. We don't have a boiler. I got
just
an
heat
AC
blow.
unit. That's all I need. I don't even put the heat on. Fuck that.
Yeah. Somebody where did they live? Somebody in California was telling me they were freezing, and it was like, they don't have heat. I don't have heat.
I never turn my heat on. I don't think I've turned it on in 4 years I've lived in this house.
Wow. That's
I
wild.
mean, the coldest
All
it
right,
gets is
man.
like 40 degrees. I'm fine. I got a blanket. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you,
All
man.
right. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk again soon. And thanks
Totally.
everybody for watching us. And it is Crumb. Do you want to tell us where they can find you?
I don't really do any show. I might do Pat Dixon's show tonight. So, I mean, if you want to hear my boring voice again, that's probably it.
I love Pat's show, but it's so hard to stay awake.
I felt I was going to go on a couple times. I've fallen asleep. He's invited me on. And I fall asleep before I get the link.
Yeah.
He's
I've
great,
had
though.
that too. I'm like, oh, there's no way. There's just no
Yeah.
way I can do it tonight.
Yeah.
All right.
When I
I
was
am at
drinking, I would
Schmuel.
go on, but now I'm not drinking as much. I fall asleep
Yeah,
early.
I got
All right,
you.
man.
All
Appreciate
right.
you.
All
Later.
right. Take care. I'm at Schmuel_Buckman on YouTube and Buckman Schmuel on Twitter. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.